A desolate, snow-covered landscape stretches out under a starless night, a lone, imposing structure silhouetted against the frigid air. Inside, a glass of crimson liquid shatters, its contents spilling ominously across the floor. A hand, now stained with blood, trembles as Ian Page, the legendary 8th-class mage, realizes the horrifying truth: even his immense power is useless against this insidious poison. His face contorted in anguish, he can only lament that his magic should have been gone for mere moments, not forever. Kneeling before a roaring fire, the once mighty mage is confronted by Emperor Ragnar, who coldly declares, "And that's why you're nothing but a piece of trash now." Ragnar's stern gaze offers no comfort as Ian's mind races, desperately searching for a reason behind this cruel betrayal. The Emperor, holding a fresh glass, dismisses his unspoken plea, retorting that the answer should already be clear. A dawning horror fills Ian's eyes as he finally comprehends the true target of Ragnar's ruthless ambition: his own power. He desperately tries to appeal to their shared past, reminding the Emperor that everything he did was for the Empire's future. But Ragnar remains unmoved, his gaze cold as he dismisses Ian's idealism, refusing to start a war for the sake of one life, calling him naive. The weight of Ragnar's words crushes Ian, leaving him to silently reflect on the promises and truths he once held dear. His hands tremble in the darkness, a chilling realization dawning on him: he might never again wield the magic that defined his very being. The weight of those lost to his past actions crushes him, yet a defiant thought sparks within his mind, questioning if he's truly here to offer an apology. But even that flicker of defiance is swallowed by the harsh reality as the last vestiges of his power fizzle away into nothingness, a faint golden glow dissolving into the air. From above, the Emperor's cold voice cuts through the silence, confessing a profound fear of his former friend. He elaborates, his gaze unwavering. Ian's eyes widen in disbelief, the Emperor's words echoing in his mind: the 8th-class magician had every right to be feared. The Emperor's gaze hardens, a chilling question hanging in the air: how could he allow such a monster to live, even if it was his old friend? With a final, twisted plea, the Emperor implores him not to forgive him for this ultimate betrayal. A single tear escapes Ian's eye, a silent testament to the crushing weight of his friend's words, his face contorted in a silent scream of agony. The Emperor turns his back, his form receding into the shadows, leaving Ian to collapse in despair. He falls amidst the crumbling architecture, the last remnants of his golden magic dissipating around him like dying embers. With a final, mournful whoosh, the golden particles vanish completely, leaving only a faint, ominous red glow in their wake. Consumed by the inferno of his own despair and rage, Ian Page screams a single, guttural word, a raw testament to the betrayal that has shattered his world. His fury boiling over, he curses the Emperor again, acknowledging his own past naivety, but a new resolve hardens his gaze. The flames around him dance with his renewed purpose, as he clenches his fist, a silent vow forming in his mind. He knows he cannot falter now, refusing to repeat the mistakes of his past self, the one who allowed such treachery to unfold. Addressing the Emperor by name, he declares his transformation: no longer the naive mage who once trusted him. Every lie, every manipulation, every moment of his suffering has fueled this burning resolve, and now, he vows to make Ragnar pay for every single transgression. His hand grips a formidable dagger, its blade glowing with an ominous light, for within it resides the very soul of a fire mage. A desperate plan forms in his mind, a final, agonizing gamble to reclaim his power, even if it means a fleeting return to magic. With unwavering resolve, he turns the glowing blade towards his own chest, preparing for the ultimate sacrifice. The dagger plunges deep, a sickening crunch accompanying the crimson spray as he seeks the redemption he so desperately craves. A raw, agonizing scream tears from his throat, the pain of the wound momentarily eclipsing even his burning hatred. His body convulses, a choked gasp escaping him, as the consequences of his desperate act begin to manifest. As the raw power surged through him, he cried out, incanting ancient words that resonated with the very fabric of magic itself, a brilliant blue aura beginning to bloom around his form. The incantation deepened, the ethereal blue energy swirling faster, pulling at the very air around him as if the world itself was bending to his will. With each syllable, the magic intensified, a maelstrom of glowing particles erupting from his body, threatening to tear him apart even as it promised ultimate power. A guttural scream tore from his throat, his face contorted in agony as the immense power coursed through his veins, a price paid in blood for the magic he so desperately craved. Yet, through the pain, a fierce resolve burned in his eyes, his voice ringing with an unwavering declaration: this was his chance to set everything right, to reclaim what was lost. The blue light pulsed one last time, then slowly receded, leaving behind only shimmering motes of magic dancing in the air, a testament to the power now awakened within him. Time passed, and he walked away from a somber grave, his silhouette stark against the fading light, a new chapter beginning with the quiet finality of death. The inscription on the stone confirmed the end of an era: here lay Ragnar, the emperor whose ambition had ultimately led to his downfall. Later, within the grand halls of a castle, he stood by a towering window, gazing out at a world now reshaped by his actions, a silent throne awaiting its new master. Outside, under a sky ablaze with the hues of sunset, crows perched on barren branches, their dark forms a stark contrast against the fiery backdrop, watching the changing world. Flags fluttered in the gentle breeze, their banners now perhaps bearing a new emblem, as the last rays of the sun cast long shadows over the land. And as the crows took flight, so too did the promise of a new dawn, a new reign, under a sky that had witnessed both betrayal and rebirth. After the dust settled from his last brutal confrontation, he finds himself standing alone in a vast, sun-drenched field. As a flock of crows circles ominously overhead, a stark contrast to the chaos he just endured. A strange, unsettling rumble echoes within him, a profound sense of unease washing over his very being. He clutches at his chest, a soft groan escaping his lips, utterly bewildered by his sudden change of surroundings. A gasp catches in his throat as he tries to process the impossible. What exactly just happened? His mind races, confirming the undeniable truth, something truly extraordinary has transpired. His eyes, wide with a mix of confusion and dawning realization, scan his new, peaceful surroundings. Then, with a sudden whoosh of movement, he turns, drawn by an unseen presence. Two figures stand before him, a young girl and a woman, their voices filled with concern, asking what could possibly be wrong, if something had happened. The woman reaches out, her hand gently taking his, a touch that sends a jolt of impossible recognition through him. His eyes widen, filled with disbelief and a profound, aching sorrow, as he stares at the woman he knows to be his deceased mother. Her grip tightens, grounding him in this impossible reality, leaving him utterly speechless and questioning everything he thought he knew. Ian's mind races, grappling with the impossible truth, wondering if this serene reunion with his mother is a cruel trick of the afterlife. Yet, the scene unfolds, a younger version of himself walking beside her, a tender moment in a world that shouldn't exist. But even this idyllic past is shattered by a distant cry, a jarring note in a peaceful village. He and his mother are swept along with a tide of villagers, their faces etched with a quiet urgency. Armored knights, stern and unyielding, direct the flow, their voices cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. The tranquility of the village gives way to a palpable tension, the air thick with unspoken fear. A stark realization dawns, a memory of a white flag atop the ivory tower, a symbol of surrender, as if he has returned to a pivotal moment. Reaching out, as if to grasp a fading memory, the truth hits him, he has been flung back, not just in memory, but to 20 years ago. A young Ian stands alone, the weight of a future he knows, and a past he's reliving, settling upon his small shoulders. 30 years. That's how far back he'd been flung, a journey far exceeding his wildest expectations. This impossible feat was only achievable through the legendary dragon's language, the very bedrock of all magic, granting its wielders limitless power. He vividly recalls the grueling years spent perfecting time magic, a desperate, last-ditch effort that had finally paid off in his final moments, just before death's cold embrace. The haunting memories resurface, a time when he alone could draw blood from an orc, a crushing burden that led to countless sacrifices, even from innocent children caught in a brutal war of loyalty. His entire existence had been consumed, used up, only to culminate in a brutal, untimely end. But a fierce, unyielding resolve now burns within him, he absolutely refuses to let history repeat itself. With a fierce resolve burning in his golden eyes, he stands beside his mother, declaring that this new life will be fundamentally different, a future he intends to forge himself. He knows that to achieve his goals, he must first uncover the secrets of his past, a quest he vows to complete, promising to return once his mission is accomplished. Leaving his home behind, he embarks on his journey, a young prodigy destined to wield the power of an 8th-class magician, and perhaps even something far beyond that. His path soon crosses with a distinguished figure, Sir Aaron, who introduces himself as a member of the Magicians' Alliance, his presence hinting at the grander magical world young Ian is about to enter. A knowing smile spreads across Aaron's face, recognizing the young man before him as Vanessa's son, a connection that immediately establishes a deeper, unspoken history. Unfazed by the recognition, Ian simply instructs him to enter, his sharp perception already having noticed Aaron's attempts to conceal his presence. Aaron's composure falters for a moment, a flicker of surprise crossing his features at the young man's unexpected insight. As they move deeper into the facility, Ian inquires about available rooms, expressing gratitude for the temporary lodging, his journey clearly just beginning. Approaching a door, he politely announces his presence, ready to face whatever lies beyond. As he steps into the Magicians' Alliance, a seasoned figure greets him with a casual, "Hi, kid," his presence radiating an undeniable authority, while a bead of nervous sweat trickles down the young man's temple. The older magician then challenges him, "Will you lower your head first?" Explaining his intent to perform a diagnostic, "I'm going to stimulate your head with mana. You might get a bit dizzy." But quickly reassures him that the effect is fleeting, but it's only temporary, so don't worry. With a gentle touch, Sir Aaron places his hand on Ian's head, initiating the scan. A moment later, a satisfied smile plays on Ian's lips as he murmurs, "Nice." Aaron then instructs him to turn around, "Now turn your back towards me," preparing for the next phase of the examination. With a knowing gaze, the magician reveals a significant discovery: I just found a mana brain inside your head. It means that you might become a magician in your entire life. He continues, hinting at even greater potential, if there's a mana heart inside your chest, leaving the implication hanging in the air. Ian's eyes narrow, a flicker of determination igniting within them as he considers the path ahead. Simply joining the alliance might not be enough. He then addresses the magician, a hint of urgency in his voice. Magician, there's something I need to show you. Closing his eyes, he prepares to reveal his true capabilities, a silent resolve hardening his features. His thoughts race, a powerful question echoing in his mind: should I try being more aggressive? The air around him crackles with nascent power, hinting at the formidable force he truly possesses. Ian Page, the young mage, unleashes a torrent of fire, a vibrant orange fireball coalescing in his palm, flames dancing wildly around him. But before the heat can even fully register, he shifts, and Sir Aaron's eyes widen in disbelief at the sight of a second, opposing element forming, a fireball. The veteran mage watches, utterly stunned, as droplets of water and shards of ice begin to materialize, shimmering with an ethereal blue. With both elements now swirling around him, Ian stands poised, demonstrating the impossible: double casting. The raw magical energy crackles around his boots, then surges up his body, a visible wave of power emanating from him. He looks down, a subtle smirk playing on his lips, as if to say, but, there's more to it than meets the eye. The narration reveals his secret, stating that suddenly, he was able to perform this feat, leaving Sir Aaron and the other observers in utter shock, their faces frozen in disbelief as a powerful magical surge fills the air. Aaron, still reeling from the impossible display, can only stammer out a bewildered, "What?" Ian turns his head, a slight smile playing on his lips, responding to the unspoken question of whether he was taught this. "No, that never happened." Aaron's eyes suddenly glow with an intense blue light, a faint hum of magic filling the air, as he presses Ian. "Is that true?" Ian looks away, a subtle shift in his demeanor, realizing Aaron is employing detection magic, trying to discern the truth behind his words, still suspicious despite the overwhelming display. Aaron's gaze is unwavering, his voice firm, as he delivers a chilling warning: "If you're lying, you must become a criminal." As the weight of Sir Aaron's warning settles, he recalls a chilling threat from the past, a stark reminder of the consequences that could befall not just him, but his entire family. The memory intensifies, painting a picture of dire stakes where even their neighbors might face ruin, yet, a flicker of defiance ignites within him as he remembers the detection magic's failure. A silent hush echoes in his mind, a secret kept from the all-seeing spell, the truth of his power remaining hidden. Suddenly, a sharp, visceral memory jolts him, a raw, guttural cry tearing through the silence of his mind. His eyes widen, reflecting the shock of a past trauma, as the flashback fully takes hold. In the memory, his mother pleads desperately with Sir Aaron, her voice trembling as she begs him to reconsider his actions. She notes the young boy's unusual silence, while Aaron, unyielding, declares that the path of a magician means 7 years of solitude, a harsh truth he delivers with stern resolve. His mother argues against the severity of the situation, insisting that such powerful magic is too rare and valuable to be simply discarded, her words cut short by Aaron's sharp interjection. A sudden, sharp sound punctuates the tense exchange, as the mother turns to her son, her expression filled with concern, asking what troubles him. The young boy remains silent, his gaze fixed downwards, a heavy thump echoing the weight of the moment, as his mother continues to question his distress. With a final, impactful thump, the young Ian looks up, his expression a mix of fear and dawning realization. Though he was destined to be a powerful magician, at that time, he was merely a child, and it was this pivotal event that forced him and his parents into the guise of nobles. A stern voice echoes, declaring that challenging the emperor's authority is a crime punishable by death. And the guard, caught in the crosshairs, lets out a choked gasp of terror, his face contorting in fear. He immediately drops to his knees, pleading desperately for mercy, begging for just one more chance as young Ian Page stands over him, an imposing figure even at his age. The boy's gaze is unwavering, his expression cold and resolute, offering no hint of forgiveness. The guard's face is a mask of pure anguish, his eyes wide with terror as he awaits his fate. He continues to grovel, admitting he's committed a grave sin and pleading for just one more chance, while Ian's mother watches on, her expression etched with concern. She glances at her son, a silent question in her eyes, but he remains unyielding. With a decisive gesture, Ian commands the guard to listen up, his hand cutting through the air with authority. He reiterates the gravity of the situation, reminding the trembling man that challenging the emperor's authority is a crime he knows all about, his words carrying an undeniable weight. Ian then leans in, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper, promising to tell all about the guard's actions to the princess if he doesn't comply. His eyes blaze with an intense, electric blue glow, a clear manifestation of his formidable power, as he delivers his final, chilling warning: "I'll be watching." Completely broken, the guard bows deeply, his head nearly touching the ground, offering a desperate "Thank you, magician," in response to the terrifying display. A young Ian Page, still a child, receives a crucial message, a voice assuring him, "Thank you for helping me." The man, a mage from the Ivory Tower, clarifies his purpose, explaining that it's the Ivory Tower's job to protect a magician. He then promises further communication, declaring, "I'll give you further notice through the crystal ball." A hint of concern in his tone, he inquires about Ian's destination. "Let me guess, you're going to a place where US knights are present. Will that be alright?" Later, Ian stands with his mother, a quiet moment before a startling revelation. His mother, taken aback, questions him, What is happening? "You're a magician," to which he calmly replies, "Yeah, that's what they said." Aaron, observing the young prodigy, muses on his extraordinary potential, remarking, "That much talent and intelligence at such a young age." Under the cloak of night, a quiet town sleeps, unaware of the brewing confrontation. Suddenly, a figure emerges, his voice laced with surprise and irritation, "Ugh. 2. Aaron, his face contorted in anger, curses the damned old man and dismisses the protagonist as only a magician, yet so cheeky. He vows that the magician will soon receive his reward, a chilling promise hanging in the air. Confident in his power, Aaron believes his spell should be enough to paralyze his opponent, but Ian Page's eyes narrow, a dangerous question escaping his lips, "What did you say about my mother?" The air crackles with tension as Ian Page's resolve hardens, promising to make Aaron pay for that. A narration box reminds us of the fundamental truth of this world, that's what magic does. Aaron, seemingly unfazed by the threat, repeats his provocative question, "What did you say about my mother?" He then scoffs, dismissing Ian Page's mother as a lowly commoner, a sneer twisting his features. Ian Page lets out a pained grunt, his body reacting to an unseen force, as a narration box declares, "Today, you will regret your arrogance." As he surveys a dangerous, abandoned street in the capital, a memory surfaces, a moment of vulnerability. He recalls losing his footing at the last moment, a critical error. Under the cold gaze of the full moon, his thoughts crystallize, forming a stark realization. He questions the morality of his actions, of stomping on his own mother's pride, a betrayal he now grapples with. The weight of his choices presses down, turning his back on those who were right, letting go of those who were wrong. The blood on his hands feels indelible, yet a fierce resolve burns within him to do whatever he can. Even if it means embracing the darkness, becoming a demon to achieve the strength he desperately needs. His eyes ignite with a brilliant blue glow, a surge of raw power as he declares his identity, Mage Ian, and offers a chilling forgiveness. He reflects on the one who abandoned him, and the cryptic words once spoken by Ragnar, seeking deeper understanding. A vague, unsettling comprehension begins to dawn upon him, connecting the pieces of his past. The scene shifts to a quiet, unassuming building, a temporary sanctuary. Inside, the young mage, now back in the present, recognizes the urgent need to recover his mana, a direct consequence of his recent paralysis. His younger self, a mere boy, gazes at his small hands, a silent wish echoing in his mind for his body to grow stronger, faster. A soft rustle of fabric accompanying his quiet contemplation. As he stands vigil beside his ailing mother's bed, a somber scene etched into his memory. Her frail form lies still, and a single, desperate word escapes his lips, a plea to the heavens. Years later, the memory still burns, a stark contrast to the fleeting triumph of becoming a first-class magician after just 1 year at the Magic Academy. A hollow victory overshadowed by the crushing reality that his mother, left alone at the Mulan estate, succumbed to illness, leaving him unable to witness her final moments or shower her with the riches he had promised. He recalls a solemn vow made to her, a desperate promise to protect her throughout his life. A promise that now feels like a cruel jest, as her fading voice asks a question he can't answer. His youthful self, filled with a desperate hope, had begged her to live long, to stay with him. But the bitter truth remains, he couldn't even protect his own mother, let alone himself, in that previous, chaotic life, a life where he was powerless to shield anyone or anything. As the Emperor ponders the true nature of power, he questions what the tower owner truly seeks, a thought that echoes the very essence of mana itself, a spirit that pulsates through one's blood. However, the conversation shifts to the methods of magic, with Aaron, the 8th-class magician and chief of the imperial court, offering his insights. The Emperor listens intently, as the profound implications of their discussion unfold. He reiterates the fundamental truth, mana is the spirit that is constantly circulating throughout one's blood. The true challenge, he explains, lies in stimulating the mana brain through various techniques, allowing one to move that spirit of their own volition, thus acknowledging them as a true magician. This process involves mastering the methods of manifesting magic, a skill that few truly possess. Aaron confirms that normally, such advanced techniques aren't taught at the academy, as even the first magicians struggled to achieve an 8th-class level. But then, a startling revelation, they claim to have been taught by the first magician themselves, a figure of legend. Meanwhile, in a distant memory, a young Ian Page, years before his current struggles, strains to discover the flow of mana, his small hands glowing with nascent power, without any light from the sun or moon to guide him. Back in the present, the Emperor reflects on the legend, acknowledging that it is a legend amongst magicians, but the existence of the first magician is a solemn fact. He dismisses dragons as mere illusions, but the first magician's existence is a solemn, undeniable fact. The emperor then poses a critical question: why would such a powerful being need a successor, especially if they can create magic from nothing, a feat beyond even the gods? He considers the implications of the magician's dispatch to the front lines, knowing that Type 1 order has been given. A dangerous situation, he muses, feeling as if they are already on the brink of disaster, a subtle humph escaping his lips. With a determined expression, he walks past grand, closed doors within the imperial palace. His steps echo through the opulent halls, his gaze fixed forward. The heavy doors swing open before him, revealing another section of the palace. He continues his measured pace, a soft humph accompanying his thoughts as he moves deeper into the imperial chambers. Suddenly, a voice from off-panel addresses him, asking if he had been called by his father. Ragnar responds with a respectful nod, confirming he was indeed summoned and apologizing for any delay. The unseen voice dismisses his apology, then inquires about the matter at hand. His father then instructs him, suggesting he should go visit the outside for a moment. Ragnar's eyes widen slightly in surprise, seeking clarification on whether this means he is to stay outside the imperial palace. His father confirms, adding that he will be assigned the secondary imperial guard, 300 imperial knights, and 3 high-class magicians for this task. Still reeling from the unexpected command, Emperor Ragnar pores over the official document, the words, "Bring back Ian Page" echoing in his mind, a task he finds himself contemplating with a curious intensity. A sigh of exasperation escapes him, as he realizes the gravity of the situation, the name Ian Page apparently still unknown to his father, a fact that only deepens the mystery surrounding this crucial mission. But the Emperor's father, ever the strategist, threatens to assign the task to another prince, a challenge Ragnar cannot accept, his voice rising in a desperate plea. His resolve hardening, he demands the mission for himself, a fierce determination burning in his eyes. He vows to execute the mission flawlessly, a confident smirk playing on his lips, fully embracing the challenge. His father, seemingly appeased, grants his request with a stern warning to be careful, to which Ragnar readily agrees, bowing in deference. A sharp tap of a hand on a document signals the finality of the decision, the weight of the task now firmly on his shoulders. Turning to his trusted advisor, Aaron, the Emperor reveals his foresight, having already begun preparations for the journey, a move that surprises even the seasoned magician. Aaron, ever the pragmatist, explains his proactive measures, citing his aversion to venturing outside and the necessity of his personal involvement with the magicians. A hearty laugh escapes the Emperor, acknowledging the truth in Aaron's words, a rare moment of levity amidst the serious planning. With the discussion concluded, Ragnar dismisses Aaron, ready to embark on his mission. The two men stride through the opulent palace halls, the Emperor leading the way, his mind already focused on the challenging journey ahead. Meanwhile, in a different corner of the realm, a younger man inquires of an elder, tower owner, "Will you be returning to the ivory tower?" The elder, with a dismissive air, simply replies, "No." As he strides through an opulent hall, his long gray hair flowing behind him, the elder declares his intention to make a brief stop, his purpose yet unknown. A grand structure stands, its imposing presence hinting at the power within, as a resounding thud echoes through the air. Inside, the political gears are already turning, with whispers of the Sword Tower and Magic Tower preparing to make their moves, their actions imminent. While Ian Page, the young magician, finds himself deep in contemplation, his mind already strategizing for the turbulent times ahead. He walks with a focused gaze, reflecting on a decision he made, knowing that the path ahead will be fraught with difficulty, requiring utmost caution. His resolve hardening as he considers the true orchestrators behind the scenes. In another chamber, the formidable Emperor Ragnar stands, a man of immense talent, capable of overshadowing even the weaknesses of Prince Ragnar, who is paradoxically the most powerful figure among the people. This complex dynamic, a powerful emperor and a popular prince, inevitably sets the stage for a looming conflict between the royal family and the influential Magic Tower. Back in his solitude, the young magician ponders his allegiance, weighing the emperor against the prince, understanding that his own power, potential, and wealth are now his to command alone. With a steely gaze, he declares his unwavering intent: he will no longer be a pawn in anyone's game. Later, the loyal Aaron, ever the dutiful magician, grants him permission to proceed, acknowledging his path forward. He stands poised, a luminous blue orb cradled in his hand, as a contingent of armored soldiers approaches, their presence signaling an urgent matter. Suddenly, a booming declaration echoes through the air, proclaiming, "Empire's magician Ian Page, heed to the Majesty's calling." The young mage's eyes widen in shock, a gasp escaping him. His expression shifts to one of deep concern, the weight of the Emperor's unexpected summons settling upon him. A thought flashes through his mind, wondering, Majesty's calling? The Emperor, it seems, is taking action far faster than anyone had anticipated. A sharp exclamation of "OH" escapes him, his surprise evident as the gravity of the situation fully registers. Aaron, the Emperor's messenger, calmly instructs him, "As Majesty has ordered me to do. I'll then tell you the royal family has been waiting for you," as the young mage begins to kneel. The instructions continue, precise and unwavering: kneel down on your right knee. And put your hand on the left side of your heart. Detailing the formal protocol. With a resigned sigh, he complies, assuming the prescribed posture, his left hand placed over his heart in a gesture of respect. Eren observes the scene, a knowing smirk playing on his lips, musing, it's not the first time he's doing this pose. A hint of amusement in his thoughts. Clutching the glowing orb, Eren issues the final command, head to the Majesty's calling, his voice firm and resolute. A faint blue aura begins to shimmer around Eren, his eyes gleaming with fierce determination as he prepares for the impending confrontation. He declares with unwavering conviction, the Emperor wants to see the magician's power. I will show the Emperor the true power of the magic tower, his words echoing with a promise of formidable display. As the Emperor's summons echoes through his chambers, Ian Page receives the formal invitation to join the Imperial Prince and other magicians on his journey, a directive that carries significant weight. A moment of silence hangs heavy in the air, as the young mage processes the implications of such a direct command. His sharp, golden eyes narrow slightly, seeing through the Emperor's thinly veiled intentions with unsettling clarity. A subtle smirk plays on his lips, a silent acknowledgement of the game being played. Meanwhile, outside the castle walls, a knight inquires if he can now escort the young mage, receiving immediate affirmation. With a decisive step, the escort begins its journey. Eren, the head of the Imperial Magic Tower, formally introduces himself to the knights, confirming his role as the Emperor's chosen escort for the prince to the capital. The knight assures him of a safe passage, promising to depart as soon as he is ready. The grand architecture of the Imperial City looms, a silent witness to the unfolding events. From a high vantage point within the opulent Imperial Palace, a figure observes the approaching procession, noting his arrival. Roi, a stern-faced noble, admonishes Margaret, reminding her to watch her words. His warning carries a clear implication, emphasizing the need to treat the arriving magician with the utmost respect. As the Imperial Prince's escort, the noble Roi and the elegant Margaret stand poised, their gazes fixed on the approaching figure. The name on everyone's lips, the subject of their intense scrutiny, is none other than Ian Page, the young magician whose arrival has stirred the imperial capital. Despite his youthful appearance, he commands respect as the Empire's magician, a title that carries immense weight. His prodigious talent has not only earned him this esteemed title, but also the direct attention of the Emperor himself, a rare and powerful endorsement. Roi, ever the pragmatist, muses on the political implications, concluding that cultivating a friendly relationship with such a formidable figure, the magician of the Empire, would be a wise strategic move. Meanwhile, Ian's youthful face, framed by his ash-blonde hair and piercing blue eyes, belies the immense power he wields and the scrutiny he now faces. Elsewhere in the palace, a hushed conversation unfolds, as one servant asks another if they've witnessed the young prodigy in the training grounds. The reply comes with awe and disbelief, describing how he was conjuring fire with nothing but his bare hands, a feat of raw, untamed magic. Indeed, the consensus is clear. He is an impressive case, having dedicated himself to the training grounds for 15 straight days, likely still there, honing his formidable skills. Out in the open, Ian stands alone, his gaze distant, the weight of his power and the expectations upon him a silent burden. With a swift, almost imperceptible motion, he extends a hand, a faint, ethereal glow beginning to emanate from his fingertips. Then, with a chilling surge of energy, he unleashes a devastating frost nova, a swirling vortex of ice and cold that erupts with raw, destructive force. He extends his hands, a brilliant blue light erupting from his palms as he unleashes a devastating ice spell. With a sharp, crackling sound, razor-sharp ice shards burst forth, rapidly expanding to consume everything in their path. The frigid expanse spreads relentlessly, transforming the very air into a frozen wasteland. Finally, the spell culminates, encasing the young magician himself within a crystalline prison of his own making. A weary sigh escapes him as he emerges, his expression hinting at the immense mana expenditure required for such a feat. He muses on his past life, remembering a time when he could have frozen not just the training grounds, but the entire castle of Moglian with a single thought. This current body, however, is severely limited, and he desperately needs something to compensate for his lack of mana. Meanwhile, in a bustling town square, two frantic figures, an older, distinguished man and a younger, anxious one, cry out for help, desperately calling for a magician. Their pleas grow more urgent, begging for assistance with a dire matter. The older man reveals the shocking news: their lord has gone missing. His face etched with worry, the older man's brow furrows deeply as he delivers the grave tidings. The younger man echoes the disbelief, his eyes wide with concern at the mention of their missing lord. As the young mage reflects on the unfolding political landscape, a subordinate reports that a key figure, the great lord, hasn't actually returned to his estate, instead roaming the capital for a while. Despite deploying all available manpower to locate him, their efforts have been unsuccessful, only now confirming his exact whereabouts. Ian, however, senses a deeper game at play, believing it's not yet time for the great lord to make his move, a sentiment he keeps to himself. A chilling prophecy unfolds. Right before the War of Unification begins, the Great Lord will ascend to Emperor, unleashing his armored division into the fray. But the vision darkens further, revealing that his son, Ian Magillion, will abandon his territory and flee when the war commences. This act of desertion will lead to his execution, a fate Ian questions, asking his subordinate, "Don't you think?" The subordinate, however, advises that magicians are better off ignorant of such grim futures. Ian ponders the implications, wondering if the Great Lord's unusual movements, like his regular hunting trips, might be a low-probability consequence of his own return. Meanwhile, in a different chamber, another official confirms that the Great Lord is currently outside the territory, engaged in other missions. Back with Ian, the question echoes in his mind, could his very presence be the catalyst for these unfolding events? He knows it's highly unusual for a district magician to leave their assigned territory, and though the exact details remain elusive, he's certain it's all connected to him. With a subtle glow emanating from his hand, Ian acknowledges his most potent weapon, the ability to predict the future. This power allows him to see how even the slightest alterations can dramatically shift the course of destiny. He declares his intent to sacrifice a crucial asset, stating, "I will lose that weapon." Emphasizing the finality of the situation, he presses urgently for information, "There is nothing more we can do about it. And that's why I'm here to ask for, where is it?" His resolve solidifies, as he offers his full assistance in the matter, "I will cooperate in the search." Even as he walks away, his internal monologue reveals a fierce determination to avert a looming disaster, knowing, "We must prevent this from happening no matter what." A worried voice calls out to Ian, demanding to know what exactly happened. His mother's concern deepens as she realizes he's heading to the mountains with the search team. Her eyes wide with fear, she asks if it isn't too dangerous for him. She insists he's too young for such perilous tasks, but he calmly replies that he's a magician now. Despite his newfound power, her motherly instincts scream, and she pleads, begging him not to come back hurt. Left alone, his mother's face contorts with anguish, her hands clasped in desperate prayer. A single tear escapes her eye as she whispers, a heartfelt plea for him to find someone. She begs him to find them, and if he does, to tell them how truly sorry she is. Suddenly, a voice from off-panel makes her gasp, her eyes widening in surprise and hope. Ian's voice confirms he will find them, and she asks, her voice trembling with disbelief and relief, if he truly means it. A voice cuts through the air, demanding to know about the ring he wears, or request to borrow it. He holds up the artifact, a faint glow emanating from its surface, confirming the potent mana he senses within it. With a determined gaze, he places the ring onto her hand, assuring her it will be the key to finding those she seeks. The golden band now rests upon her finger, a silent promise. A soft, knowing smile plays on his lips as he watches her. Then, a surge of azure energy crackles around his hand, a final magical flourish before his departure. This is no ordinary trinket, it's the Wulan ring, a low-rank artifact, yet one that can amplify mana with time and focus. She gazes at the ring, a tearful sniffle escaping her, wondering if this precious gift signifies a daughter's inheritance rather than an heir's duty. Her resolve hardens, accepting the temporary loan of the ring, a tool for the difficult task ahead. He reiterates its purpose, a vital compensation for her own lack of mana. With a decisive swish of his cloak, he strides away from the imposing structure, leaving the guards in his wake. His voice echoes with unwavering resolve, a simple command to move forward. Deep within a verdant forest, a new quest begins. A guard points to a grim discovery, confirming their location. As the ground tells a silent, bloody tale, marking the last known whereabouts of the missing. Ian, ever the pragmatist, presses the guards for more information, his concern palpable. Only for the grim answer to confirm his fears, no survivors, just the chilling implication of a monstrous feast. All that remains of the attackers are the gruesome, decaying forms of defeated goblins. Yet a determined resolve hardens his gaze, knowing the overwhelming odds the victims faced, but refusing to give up hope, realizing hundreds of goblins must have attacked. A flash of inspiration, a glimmer of hope, strikes him as his gaze falls upon a familiar ring. And the solution becomes clear, ancient summoning magic, calling upon a wolf spirit to aid his search. With a surge of mana, he begins the intricate incantation, glowing runes swirling around him. The air crackling with energy as the summoning circle ignites, its arcane symbols blazing with power. A powerful surge of magic erupts, signaling the imminent arrival of his summoned ally. As the powerful summoning circle flares with brilliant blue light, Ian stares in disbelief at the creature materializing before him, a massive, ethereal wolf spirit beginning to take form, prompting him to question if this truly is the spirit he called forth. With a resounding thud, a colossal, furry paw, crackling with blue energy, slams down onto the ground, confirming the spirit's immense presence. Yet, as the full form of the summoned entity reveals itself, a tiny, impossibly cute white wolf with huge, innocent eyes and a wagging tail stands there, completely defying the initial impression of a fearsome beast. Staring down at the adorable creature, Ian can only utter a bewildered, "Whoa," his mind reeling as he recalls the truly massive wolf spirit he once summoned in a previous life, a stark contrast to the fluffy companion now before him. A sigh of resignation escapes him, the memory of his past power highlighting the current limitations of his mana. Despite the unexpected outcome, Ian's resolve hardens, acknowledging that his current mana reserves dictate the size of his summons, but not his determination. Turning to the small wolf, he issues a direct command, tasking the spirit with the crucial mission of locating the missing villagers. As the wolf spirit seems to understand, looking intently in the direction Ian points, three shadowy figures watch from the forest's edge, their presence unnoticed as Ian ponders the nature of the magician he's dealing with. He reiterates his urgent need for the wolf spirit's assistance, his voice laced with a desperate plea to find the missing, even as the small creature looks up at him with an almost questioning gaze. Suddenly, a chilling screech echoes through the air, as a monstrous, red, clawed hand bursts into view, hinting at a new, terrifying threat lurking in the shadows. He plunges his blade into a goblin, its green hide no match for his swift attack, as the forest around them erupts with the guttural cries of more of the monstrous creatures. As more of the creatures swarm, his companion voices concern, wondering what their next move should be against the overwhelming numbers. The forest echoes with the guttural cries of countless goblins, their sheer numbers threatening to overwhelm their defenses. Elsewhere, a grimace of pain crosses the face of the Emperor, a fresh wound marring his brow as he struggles against an unseen foe. A desperate command rings out, urging the others to fall back to the castle while they hold the line against the relentless horde. But the situation is dire, and the order is quickly countermanded, they cannot retreat any further. Suddenly, a monstrous, clawed green hand bursts from the foliage, its grotesque fingers reaching out with terrifying speed. The Emperor turns, his expression etched with alarm as he senses the new, immediate threat closing in. A desperate cry of "Father" escapes Ian's lips as the massive limb descends with crushing force. The air is rent by a terrifying roar as a colossal goblin reveals itself, its eyes burning with malevolent red light. "Father!" Behind. Ian screams, his voice filled with urgent warning. The Emperor's eyes widen in horror as he glances over his shoulder, realizing the true scale of the danger bearing down on him. The air crackles with an unseen force, a chilling silence before the storm. Then, with a sudden, violent surge, a devastating frost nova erupts, tearing through the space with razor-sharp ice. The impact is deafening, a cacophony of shattering ice and raw magical power that rips through the surroundings. One man, already wounded, recoils from the blast, his face contorted in a grimace of pain and shock. The ground itself shatters, ice splintering underfoot as the residual energy of the attack spreads. Amidst the frozen chaos, Aaron and Ian stand, their gazes fixed on the devastation, assessing the damage. Nearby, Emperor Ragnar collapses to his knees, the force of the attack clearly overwhelming him. The other injured man's eye, wide with pain, reflects the brutal reality of their situation. Still on his knees, Emperor Ragnar remains bowed, his distress palpable in the icy air. A sharp intake of breath escapes Ian, his expression tightening with profound concern as he takes in the scene. From his kneeling position, Emperor Ragnar utters a chilling thought, "That child is." His words hanging heavy with unspoken dread. Meanwhile, the other injured man's face is a mask of agony, the pain of the attack etched deeply into his features. A desperate cry echoes through the chamber. As Margaret's face contorts with worry. Her voice barely a whisper, questioning the impossible, demanding answers to the chaos that has unfolded. She turns to the Emperor, her plea for understanding hanging heavy in the air. While the true focus of their anguish, Ian, lies unconscious, miraculously rescued from the brink. Margaret's mind races, the weight of her brother's extraordinary talent, a genius magician in a family devoid of magic, pressing down on her. Suddenly, a loyal retainer bursts in, his voice filled with urgent relief. Overjoyed to find Ian awake, yet immediately demanding to know the fate of their missing comrades from the previous night's ordeal. His concern deepens, particularly for Sir Rodden, who has yet to return. Before his gaze sharpens, seeking the one whose power could turn the tide, where is the magician? The Emperor, his brow furrowed with concern, declares he must witness the situation for himself. As a voice urgently calls out, "Sir Magician," the young man, Ian, stands quietly within a chamber. Finding him at last, his retainer, Hua, finally locates him, a sense of relief washing over his features as he exclaims, "There you are." After confirming his recovery, Hua then shares the good news, "I heard that the Lord has woken up," to which Ian responds with humble gratitude, "Yes, it's all thanks to you, Sir Magician." With a slight turn, Hua continues, explaining his purpose, "I have been waiting for you to bring you over to the reception room by my lord." He adds, hinting at the Emperor's intentions, "I believe he wants to speak to you about." Ian listens intently, his expression thoughtful as he processes the impending audience. Soon after, Hua escorts Ian into the grand reception room, where the Emperor greets them warmly, "Oh. Welcome." Turning his attention to the young mage, the Emperor then directly addresses Ian, his voice filled with genuine concern, "How do you feel?" In response, Ian, bowing respectfully, expresses his profound appreciation, "I express my sincere gratitude for all of your help." The Emperor, a figure of immense power, addresses Ian Page, acknowledging his service and the crucial role he plays in the very foundation of their home, the Grand Empire itself. With a regal gesture, he reveals a special token, a symbol of his profound appreciation. A small, ornate box is placed on the table, its contents hinting at something extraordinary. Ian's eyes widen in disbelief, a silent question hanging in the air as the Emperor simply commands him to accept it. As Ian takes the box, the Emperor reveals that Margaret had spoken of its incredible power. This isn't just any ring, it's a relic capable of amplifying mana, a game-changer that proved invaluable during the brutal Goblin campaign. The Emperor's gaze is piercing as he asks if such a powerful artifact could aid the young magician, Ian, in his future endeavors. He reiterates the ring's incredible power, emphasizing its crucial role in turning the tide against the Goblin hordes. This isn't just a gift, it's a sacred relic, a profound token of imperial favor. Ian, still reeling from the revelation, can only utter a stunned question, processing the weight of such an offering. The Emperor's voice rings with authority, declaring that from this moment forward, Ian Page will serve as the Empire's honorary mage, a title bestowed with this very token. With a newfound resolve gleaming in his eyes, Ian accepts the profound honor, ready to embrace his new role. The Emperor's voice rings out, a solemn promise echoing through the Grand Hall, declaring a reward for the one who saved their very lineage. And he continues, extending an open invitation, a pledge of unwavering support to Sir Ian Page, ensuring that any request for aid would be met without hesitation. Ian listens intently, the weight of their words settling upon him, as the Emperor reaffirms their eternal loyalty. With a final, resolute declaration, the Emperor seals the pact, vowing to honor the profound promise made to Sir Ian after his heroic deeds. Soon, the formal halls are left behind, replaced by the rustling leaves of a vast forest, the journey now taking a different path. A contingent of soldiers marches steadily through the verdant landscape, their armor glinting faintly under the dappled sunlight. Among them, the captain turns to Ian, inquiring about their proximity to the northern town of Lloyd. He confidently assures his lord that they will reach their destination once they crest the next hill, the journey nearing its end. Ian, deep in thought, considers his next move, a subtle determination etched across his features. Addressing the captain, he poses a crucial question, seeking knowledge of a skilled alchemist, someone renowned for their exceptional craft. The captain ponders for a moment, then recalls a name, revealing that in the northern town of Lloyd, an alchemist named Redho is known for his expertise. Ian acknowledges the captain's assessment, confirming the necessity of his northern detour, all for the sake of a very special item. As if a forgotten memory resurfaces, he recalls a name, one utterly alien to his current existence. A name he never encountered in his past life, a past he now seeks to supplement with a new alias. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a desperate cry, "Captain! Sir Magician!" A younger version of him, his eyes sharp with youthful resolve, surveys the unfolding chaos. While the captain and his armored guard stand aghast, witnessing the devastation. The air crackles with tension. And then, a frantic scramble as he, the captain, and terrified villagers flee, pushing through the panicked crowd, urging them to move faster. Among the fleeing, a grizzled man with an eye patch watches the unfolding horror. Just as a monstrous goblin lunges, its claws aimed directly at the young magician, eliciting a horrified scream of "No-oh." The bearded man can only watch in despair, crying out, "No-oh." But the young magician's gaze hardens, a fierce determination igniting within him, ready to face the encroaching threat. The air crackles with tension as an older man, his face grim, raises a crude weapon, poised to strike. With a savage grunt, he brings it down, a sickening impact sending blood spraying through the air. A young boy cries out, clutching his head as the force of the blows sends him reeling. Before he can recover, the older man seizes him, the boy's desperate struggles proving futile against his assailant's grip. The boy screams for his father, but the man's chilling response echoes, promising death and dismissing his pleas as mere annoyance. His world shatters, the boy's face contorting in a silent scream of pure, unadulterated terror. Then, a glint of steel, as the older man produces a knife, his voice dripping with malice as he threatens to sell the boy into slavery. The cold blade reflects the boy's fear, held menacingly close as his tormentor looms over him. A silent scream tears through him, his eyes wide with an unbearable horror as the reality of his fate dawns. His world collapses, the boy's expression shifting from terror to utter despair, a profound sense of hopelessness washing over him. With a final, brutal motion, the older man's hand descends, the knife a blur of deadly intent, leaving a trail of blood in its wake. The blade finds its mark, as the older man violently attacks the boy, the scene dissolving into a horrifying, bloody blur. The brutal memory continues, a close-up on the young boy's face revealing the raw agony of his ordeal. Tears stream down his blood-splattered cheek, his eyes, now a haunting purple, reflecting the profound terror and despair that grips him. A single tear escapes his eye, glowing with an unnatural purple light as he endures an unseen torment, his face contorted in anguish. His hand, stained with blood, trembles, a stark reminder of the brutal struggle he's just faced. With a heavy thud, his foot impacts the ground, the force of his fall echoing the chaos around him. Nearby, a group of villagers stares in utter disbelief, one man gasping, what? What was that? Ice. Their panicked whispers cut through the air, shouting, over there. Soldiers. The villagers erupt in a chorus of screams, their terror palpable as one man cries out, while another desperately shushes him, It's too loud. Amidst the chaos, a robed figure is violently thrown through the air, a desperate scream escaping their lips as brilliant blue energy erupts around them. Then, sudden darkness. Moments later, a lone figure stands silhouetted against a vast, serene sky. Ian Page, now cloaked in a traveler's garb, glances back with a weary sigh, his journey far from over as he navigates this new, unfamiliar terrain. Beneath his feet, a faint magical circle glows, confirming the success of whatever powerful spell or teleportation brought him here. It's effective. After a traumatic magical event, Ian Page finds himself in an unfamiliar, yet strangely familiar, past, his mana now severely restricted, a ring on his finger limiting his power to that of a mere third-class magician. He finds himself on the ground, surrounded by the aftermath of some unknown conflict, his gaze falling upon another figure lying motionless nearby. Rising to his feet, the young mage's mind races, trying to piece together the events that led him here. Spotting a young man in armor, he urgently asks if any of the soldiers have been hurt. A wave of relief washes over him at the response, confirming their safety. Yet, a deeper concern lingers in his mind, wondering about the fate of others. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through the air, jolting him with surprise. Turning, he sees his father, Emperor Ragnar, and a single word escapes his lips, a desperate plea for him to get out of there. He finds himself face to face with a magician, who, upon seeing his condition, declares he'll take a closer look, a sudden exclamation escaping him. The magician's gaze falls upon the young man, still reeling from his transformation, can only stare back in silent confusion. A look of profound distress crosses Aaron's face as he realizes the severity of the situation, his thoughts racing to the dreaded soul's curse, a mana-born affliction that devours the very essence of a person, turning their hair white and leading to a slow, agonizing death if left untreated. Ian, suspecting foul play, voices his belief that a magician deliberately inflicted this curse, while Aaron, confirming the grim diagnosis, acknowledges the dire state of the affliction. Without hesitation, Aaron grasps Ian's hand, a surge of pure mana flowing between them as he begins the only known method to temporarily alleviate the curse, injecting pure mana to release the stagnant energy, a process that causes Ian to gasp in pain. The intense magical transfer causes Aaron to wince, the strain of manipulating such potent energies evident on his face, even as he continues the delicate procedure. As the immediate pain subsides, Aaron looks up, bewildered, only for Ian to urgently plead with him, begging him to extend the same life-saving care to his father, expressing profound gratitude for his help. A soft touch to Aaron's arm underscores the depth of Ian's plea, a silent testament to his desperation. His gaze fixed on the distance, a profound worry etched onto his young face, Ian can only wonder, will his father, Emperor Ragnar, truly be alright? Once the Emperor's personal mage and most trusted confidant, his presence here hints at deeper palace intrigue. His presence, a ghost from the past, drags Ian back to a time when he was just 6 years old, a time marked by the devastating loss of his mother to the soul's curse. Even then, the renowned alchemist, Douglas Heyman, was a figure of immense respect, sought after by kingdoms far and wide for his unparalleled skill. He spoke of a hero, a legendary figure whose quest for a cure led him far to the north, a desperate hope clinging to his words. But even then, the grim reality loomed, the soul's curse was a poison, utterly beyond the reach of any magic, a truth Douglas himself seemed to grapple with. The memory of that incurable affliction, the helplessness, still burned within him, a constant reminder of his mother's fading life. He couldn't stand by, watching her slip away, a fierce resolve igniting in his young heart. Whispering her name, a silent vow formed on his lips, he would find a way. With a determined stride, the young boy turned his back on his ailing mother, the faint glow of nascent magic shimmering around him as he embarked on his desperate quest. Later, in the quiet of the forest, Douglas offered a glimmer of hope, suggesting that a cure could still save their village, while Ian, clutching a vibrant flower, declared his unwavering belief that he could cure her once he found the legendary Landers's flower. But time was a luxury he couldn't afford, the chilling thought that she would be gone if he didn't find the flowers soon fueling his desperate urgency. He remembered his father's gentle, yet heartbreaking, command to his mother, sleep, a word that echoed the finality of her impending fate. That memory solidified his resolve, hardening his gaze as he reaffirmed his childhood vow, he had to succeed, no matter the cost. He gazes down at the small, brown-haired boy clutching a vibrant flower, a memory surfacing, as the child murmurs about the flower. A soft "H-O-O" escapes him, as the child drifts into slumber against his shoulder, a peaceful "ZZZ" filling the quiet. The gentle of rustling leaves fills the quiet air around them. He realizes, with a pang of recognition, that the child's innocent features, devoid of the harshness he now carries, are strikingly similar to his own, musing, now that I look closely, if his old face wasn't so threatening, his current face would look just like his old face. Later, the adult Ian rests, lost in the depths of his own thoughts, the weight of the past heavy upon him. He recalls a pivotal moment, contemplating the fate that would have befallen the boy had he not intervened in Road Village, thinking, if I didn't come to Road Village. Without his presence, the child's father would have perished, leaving the boy to be enslaved by raiders, a grim fate he prevented. His father would have died and he would have gotten captured by the raiders and turned into a slave. The weight of his influence settles upon him. He had, in essence, shaped the very trajectory of this young life, acknowledging, the child's life has almost literally been made by him. A new question arises, a silent query about the mysterious benefactor who provided Landers's flower. As he ponders, who is the person who gave him Landers's flower? His eyes flare with a cold, electric blue light as a chilling thought crosses his mind: should I dispose of him? The intense blue glow reflects the gravity of his internal debate, a silent struggle within his soul. But the glow fades, replaced by a pragmatic caution, as he decides against any rash action, concluding, it could be dangerous to act too hastily. Ian Page, the formidable 8th-class mage, finds himself lost in contemplation, a profound realization dawning upon him: to ascend as the greatest magician in history, he had made a critical error. His mind races, grappling with the implications of his past actions, even if the life he now observed was fundamentally different from the one he had lived before. A close-up on a hand, perhaps his own, emphasizes the weight of his decision, leading him to a stark conclusion: then what? The scene shifts, revealing a younger Ian, looking bewildered amidst the trees, his expression a mix of confusion and innocence. He turns to a stern, armored man, his voice filled with youthful curiosity, asking what the situation entails. The armored man, his gaze fixed on the boy, wonders internally who this child could possibly be. A flashback within the flashback shows young Ian sleeping peacefully. As the armored man recalls his earlier assessment, he had thought the boy reckless and foolish, so he had put him to sleep. Returning to the present, the armored man addresses the now awake young Ian, his tone firm yet gentle, instructing him to return to the village, as he was now there to ensure his safety. As the armored man prepares to leave, he pauses, turning back to the boy with a question, asking if he intended to join them. Young Ian, his gaze resolute, begins to articulate his own path, declaring that he has. His words hang in the air as the scene expands to a vast, open landscape, emphasizing his conviction that there is somewhere specific he needs to go. Under the cloak of night, a quaint village house stands illuminated by the soft glow of a window, hinting at the quiet lives within. As the darkness outside deepens. Inside, a concerned voice breaks the silence, asking, "Douglas, are you all right?" The injured man, lying in bed, responds with a weary sigh, "Not yet." Aaron, sitting beside him, recounts the recent ordeal. "He told me," explaining how a powerful magician had reprimanded them for their magical attempts, adding, "Some magician came to our village and chewed us out. And I also tried to do something magical, but you were magical." Douglas, however, seems lost in his own thoughts, murmuring, "I just." His mind fixated on a different concern, the lingering threat of raiders and his personal quest. Tried to find a flower. There could still have been raiders near the village. Frustrated by his friend's distraction, Aaron exclaims, "Then what do I do?" He reminds Douglas of the magician's warning: "That magician said you'll stay in harm's way." To which Douglas simply replies, "I'm fine." Yet, Douglas's mind remains stubbornly focused on his elusive goal: "If I just find Lander's flower." "You couldn't find it for a year." Douglas, still consumed by his quest, wonders aloud if the legendary Lander's flower even exists. His thoughts echo into the quiet night, a silent, cosmic affirmation declaring its undeniable reality. Suddenly, a sharp, unexpected sound jolts both Douglas and Aaron, their expressions snapping to alarm. Aaron, ever vigilant, moves towards the source of the disturbance, a heavy wooden door, demanding to know who dares interrupt their peace. From the other side, a muffled voice responds, its identity still shrouded in mystery. The cloaked figure outside the door speaks with an unnerving calm, revealing knowledge of Douglas's desperate search for Lander's flower. A moment of tense silence hangs in the air, before the heavy door slowly creaks open. Aaron pulls the door wide, revealing the hooded visitor standing calmly on their threshold. Turning back into the room, Aaron glances towards Douglas, a silent question in his eyes. Douglas's eyes widen in shock and recognition, realizing the cloaked figure is none other than the powerful magician who had reprimanded him before. Aaron, equally stunned by the unexpected visitor, can only utter a bewildered question. After the shocking interruption, Douglas and Aaron quickly refocus on their urgent research, as Douglas presents a glowing specimen, confirming its identity as Lander's flower. Aaron's golden eyes widen in surprise, demanding to know how Douglas managed to acquire such a rare specimen. The mystical Lander's flower, with its vibrant purple petals and ethereal glow, is a sight of both beauty and immense power. Douglas, holding the precious bloom, offers it to his colleague, but not before posing a critical question of his own. He presses Aaron for details, curious how he possessed knowledge of an herb whose effects were supposedly unknown to the wider world. Aaron's expression remains thoughtful, as he considers his response. Douglas, anticipating the answer, suggests the source of Aaron's secret knowledge, a journal. Aaron confirms the deduction, admitting he indeed discovered the information within the pages of an old journal. Douglas then reveals his own connection to such a text, presenting a worn herb journal gifted to him by his former teacher. He gestures towards a specific page, inviting Aaron to examine the detailed entry. The journal entry meticulously describes Lander's flower as a 12-petaled bloom, easily identified by its green stem and roots, yet possessing a unique and potent effect. It instantly drinks up mana upon being picked, a property only found in the northern continent. Douglas, ever the meticulous scholar, clarifies the journal's true value, explaining that it's not just a book, but a sacred family legacy. He firmly states that such a treasure cannot simply be lent out, its secrets too profound for casual sharing. But then, his tone shifts, revealing the chilling truth. For a mage, the mana brain, as he calls them, Lander's flower isn't just an herb, it's a deadly poison, capable of neutralizing their very essence. Douglas, sensing the gravity of his words, acknowledges the implications. Yet he stands firm on his family's principles: their alchemy is for healing, never for harm. He reiterates the flower's terrifying mana-neutralizing effect, a power that could unravel any spellcaster. Ian listens, his expression a complex mix of understanding and dawning realization. Douglas then extends the delicate, 12-petaled bloom, its vibrant hues shimmering, thanking the young mage for his insightful questions. As Ian takes it, the flower pulses with an ethereal blue glow, particles of light swirling around its petals. He holds the glowing Lander's flower, its power now tangible in his grasp, a silent testament to its profound and dangerous properties. As the Lander's flower crackles with an ethereal glow in his grasp, a subtle rustling sound accompanies its potent energy. While Douglas Heyman, ever the meticulous alchemist, clarifies his role, stating that he only freezes its shape, never altering its true nature. A flicker of suspicion crosses Ian's face as he challenges Douglas, demanding to know if he'd been tricked. Douglas, however, calmly reassures him, insisting he only wanted him to grasp the flower's true essence, then extends an invitation, asking him to accompany him. Ian's expression remains unreadable, his mind clearly weighing the implications of the offer, a silent battle of trust playing out behind his eyes. Douglas continues to press his case, promising to explain everything about mana poisoning with meticulous detail, ensuring Ian's safety from its insidious effects. He sweetens the deal, offering Ian the Lander's flower itself and vowing to provide crucial information, especially regarding the Emperor and his own family's involvement. With a final, compelling plea, Douglas urges Ian to come to the Heyman mansion, revealing that even the capital's most powerful magicians are desperately seeking the same knowledge. Suddenly, a memory flashes, a desperate plea for elixirs to aid a deficient mana core, the image of a glowing red potion bottle stark against the darkness. A younger Ian, consumed by a singular purpose, had once begged to study and create a cure for his ailing mother. But even then, Douglas, steadfast in his principles, had refused, declaring he was no alchemic magician capable of such a feat. He had warned of the political ramifications, a potential conflict between the Empire and his house, yet offered a glimmer of hope, a path to clear Ian's name by finding a cure. In a desperate plea from the past, a younger Ian stands before Douglas Heyman, imploring him to make the right choice, at least for the sake of someone dear to him. Douglas, however, remains firm in his ethical boundaries, stating that the person in question is not his child, and questioning who this individual even is, before requesting more time to consider the weighty implications of Ian's request. Unyielding, the young mage grants him the concession, offering Douglas as much time as he needs. Douglas then places a comforting hand on Ian's shoulder, his words carrying a deeper meaning about not wanting anyone to lose their father or become an orphan. A flicker of understanding, or perhaps a renewed sense of hope, crosses the young boy's determined gaze. Douglas ruffles Ian's hair, a gentle gesture that belies the gravity of his next question, a concern that his actions might lead him directly into the clutches of Ragnar. With a soft rustle of his robes, Ian Page begins his journey away from the quiet village. The young magician's path now set towards a new destiny. An armored figure, Roi, stands ready, declaring their imminent return to the Lord's mansion. A moment of quiet contemplation passes over Ian's face. As he utters a soft, before Roi's firm voice cuts through, urging them to, let's start heading. Despite the lack of a definitive decision, the journey has begun, Ian glancing back one last time. Suddenly, Roi's voice rings out with a surprised HUH. Eliciting a sharp AH from Ian. As they walk, Roi asks, yes, will you do me a favor, prompting Ian to question, I was to go with him. Roi's gaze intensifies, a solemn plea in his voice, please fulfill your promise. Without hesitation, Ian extends his hand, a resolute, of course, sealing his commitment. He hesitates for a moment, a soft sound escaping him as he considers the request. A young child, held by Roi, looks up with desperate eyes, pleading, can you really cure my father? The weight of the child's hope settles on his shoulders, his expression turning serious. With a firm nod, he declares, "Yeah, I promise." Both Hua and the child look up, their faces alight with disbelief and renewed hope, repeating the word, "Really? Really?" Hua then turns to the child, a hint of amusement in his voice, remarking, "They don't treat him like a captain. He's so cute, Sir Captain." A flicker of annoyance crosses Ian's face as he recalls a stern voice from his past, commanding, "Get out of my sight." He wonders, confused, if the Emperor was ever like this when he was young. Time passes, marked by the rhythmic thud of hooves on the ground, as the journey continues. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, startling both Ian and Douglas, who exclaim, "Whoa! Whoa!" A fully armored guard approaches Douglas, delivering an urgent message, "Magician, we have to go to the castle quickly." Douglas, surprised, asks if something happened, to which the guard replies he's been told to bring them right away, prompting Douglas to wonder, the Emperor? Already? Summoned to the castle, Ian Page finds himself pondering the unexpected turn of events, a slight surprise crossing his features. As a knight approaches with a magnificent steed, he offers to prepare the horse, asking if Ian wishes to ride it. With a gentle touch, Ian assures the knight that the animal will become his friend, a testament to his unique connection with all living things. His hand caresses the horse's muzzle, a silent bond forming instantly. The majestic creature responds with a soft exhale, its eye reflecting a newfound tranquility. Mounted upon his new companion, Ian receives the knight's instruction to proceed to the castle, the knight marveling at how quickly he tamed the powerful animal. With a final glance back at the bowing knight, Ian sets off, the horse moving with a graceful stride. Sir Arnold, the knight, then turns to Douglas Heyman, instructing him to follow Ian to the castle. Ian, already ahead, declares his intention to lead the way, his figure receding into the distance. Behind him, the grand royal carriage, flanked by knights, begins its journey, the rhythmic clatter of its wheels echoing through the air. The ornate door of the carriage hints at the powerful figure within, a silent anticipation building. Inside, Emperor Ragnar gazes out with a stern expression, his golden eyes fixed on the approaching path, awaiting the arrival of his summoned guests. An older noble, his expression stern, addresses the Emperor, questioning his recent actions. You dare to be so rude?" he presses, before continuing, "I had something important to tell you, young Ian." He reminds the Emperor that a multitude of people once followed the fifth prince, a fact the Emperor surely knows, and one that his father, the Emperor, is very good at keeping important. The advisor continues, revealing that even the formidable owner of the ivory tower is now aligning himself with the fifth prince. He adds that the fifth prince mistakenly believed he was the Emperor's own child, and now he'll undoubtedly be disappointed, trying to exert immense pressure on his name. The noble's gaze remains fixed, his words carrying a heavy weight, as he emphasizes the gravity of the situation. He then utters a single, potent name, Ian Page. The command is clear, do anything to make him yours. The urgency in his voice is palpable, as he warns, before the ivory tower gets to him. The advisor's counsel echoes, a stark reminder. Emperor Ragnar lets out a frustrated sigh, his golden eyes narrowed in thought, clearly displeased by the political maneuvering. The advisor, still speaking, dismisses Ian's potential, even if he is a magician, what help would that child be? He scoffs, adding, the ivory tower is filled with magicians, and any 9 of them are on my side. Ragnar's golden eye flashes with fury, his inner turmoil boiling over as he seethes, how dare he leave me, the heir, and pick the fifth prince. His ambition burns bright, a chilling promise forming in his mind, the day I rise to the throne, I'll get rid of all those. He ponders the conclusion of a recent, intense discussion. Suddenly, a subordinate, bowing deeply, addresses him with utmost respect. This is Second Police Captain Oliver Ragwood, a new face in the Emperor's inner circle, who suggests a bold strategic move. The Emperor remains deep in thought, his golden eyes reflecting a calculated intensity. Oliver explains the critical preparations needed for the Moglians' arrival, emphasizing the 2-day time frame and the urgent nature of their situation, pleading for understanding. His expression remains unreadable, a mask of imperial resolve. Confirming the situation, Oliver then presses for their own travel time, eager to proceed. The Emperor cuts him off, his voice sharp with authority, issuing a decisive command to send a message. He declares his intention to expose the Moglians' sluggishness directly to Ian Page, linking it to their imminent 2-day arrival, a calculated move in his grand strategy. Oliver listens intently, processing the weighty implications of his ruler's words. A look of grim determination settles on his face, ready to execute the imperial will. The captain affirms his understanding with unwavering loyalty, his voice echoing across the serene, distant landscape. The grand, imposing structure of the imperial palace stood majestically under a clear sky, its intricate architecture a testament to the empire's power. Inside, Hua, a noble with a neatly trimmed beard, let out a frustrated sigh, the silence of the waiting halls broken only by his exasperated murmur. He covered his face with a hand, the weight of the situation pressing down on him as he muttered, wondering why there had been no word from the expected guests, despite his initial belief they wouldn't even show. But then, quite suddenly, Rwa's frustration mounted as he questioned, still no word from the missing families. An attendant nearby suggested they simply forget the mess and step outside for a moment, offering a temporary escape from the mounting tension. Just then, Margaret, a noblewoman with flowing blonde hair, burst into the room with an urgent announcement, her voice ringing out with the news that His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, had finally arrived. Outside, a magnificent horse-drawn carriage, adorned with imperial crests, made its stately approach, its arrival heralded by the clatter of hooves and the rumble of wheels. The ornate wheel of the carriage spun steadily, carrying the royal presence closer to the palace gates. As the Crown Prince's carriage finally arrives, its door swings open, revealing the young royal stepping out, his presence commanding immediate attention. Standing ready to greet him, Rwa, ever the meticulous official, begins to address the prince, but his words are cut short. A sudden, urgent cry of "Halt!" rings out, as the thundering hooves of an approaching horse echo through the palace grounds. And there, dismounting with a sheepish expression, Ian Page offers a quick apology for his tardiness, his gaze cast downwards. The Crown Prince, however, simply smiles, dismissing the delay with a casual, "You've arrived, so that's all that matters." Meanwhile, whispers ripple through the gathered crowd, identifying the young man as the magician from the Page family, a revelation met with disbelief by some. Rwa, regaining his composure, sternly reminds Ian that his presence at the imperial palace is a direct order from the emperor himself. As the tension hangs in the air, the Crown Prince steps forward, his gaze fixed on the young magician. His voice cuts through the silence, a direct challenge as he asks, "Are you Ian Page?" The intricate details of the Crown Prince's uniform, a testament to his imperial status, gleam under the palace lights. Ian, still looking down, muttering to himself that he wasn't even in a good mood to begin with, his frustration evident. Meanwhile, from a hidden vantage point, a group of cloaked figures observes the unfolding scene, their presence unnoticed. Among them, a woman named Cecilia watches with keen interest, her expression unreadable. A raw, guttural sound escapes Ian Page, his eyes blazing with an electric blue glow, blood staining his lips as immense power surges around him. The opulent halls of the imperial palace stand in stark contrast. Their grandeur a silent testament to the power gathered within. Inside, the Crown Prince, regal and composed, advises his companion, "You must not overthink." Yet, his own thoughts betray a deep dissatisfaction, lamenting the poor quality of the wine and the tedious necessity of mingling with these people after such a long journey. He finds the entire banquet unsatisfactory, his disdain extending even to the newly arrived mage. His companion offers only a silent acknowledgement. While the Crown Prince yearns for an early retreat and some much-needed rest. Meanwhile, from a discreet distance, Cecilia observes the proceedings. Her mind already connecting the dots, realizing the Coldwood Empire's growing interest in the young mage. Not long ago, two critical commands had been issued from the Coldwood Empire, first, to personally observe Ian Page and verify the rumors surrounding him. And second, to capture both the Emperor and his mother, bringing them back to the Empire. She ponders the sheer magnitude of his power, wondering what kind of individual could possess such a profound connection. Under the cloak of night, a grand estate stands silent, its windows reflecting the distant stars. And there he is, the target of her investigation, standing alone in the courtyard. A mischievous glint in her eye, she considers testing his rumored abilities, starting with something light. The air crackles with anticipation as her hand glows with nascent magic, signaling an imminent strike. A bolt of pure magical energy, magic missile, streaks through the darkness, aimed directly at him. But he reacts with lightning speed, his eyes widening in sudden, sharp surprise. Before the missile can connect, a shimmering blue shield erupts around him, deflecting the attack with ease. A gasp escapes her lips, utterly baffled by the unexpected shield and demanding to know his identity. His own hand now glows with a faint, ethereal blue, a clear sign of his innate magical prowess. With a knowing smirk, she reveals her true identity, Sensei from the Magic Tower, implying a deeper connection than he might realize. He retorts with a hint of annoyance, questioning her implication, "You mean people like me?" A playful smirk plays on her lips, as she observes the young mage before her. She continues, her tone light, suggesting a senior's jest with a junior, but her words carry a subtle challenge. But then, a sudden, sharp realization dawns on her face, her eyes widening in surprise. A choked gasp escapes her as the weight of his words begins to sink in. The young mage, his composure unwavering, demands to know how she could possibly utter that name. Cecilia, regaining her composure, simply states that she knows him well. But Ian's eyes blaze with an otherworldly blue light, his voice cutting through the air as he reveals a terrifying truth. He remembers her from a past life, a life where he eradicated the Coldwalkers she was embedded with. He advances, his words dripping with contempt, exposing her true identity as the stable master of the Moulton family, a figure he clearly despises. Rain begins to fall, mirroring the sudden chill in the air as Cecilia, the royal magician and top mage from the Imperial Squad 3, stands stunned by his revelation. Ian presses his advantage, accusing her of being the palace's dog and demanding if she remembers the crimes she committed in his past life. A pensive expression crosses her face as she admits, perhaps truthfully, that she doesn't recall. His glowing blue eye narrows, the intensity of his gaze suggesting a deeper, unresolved history between them. He extends a hand, a swirling orange light gathering in his palm, demanding the names of those involved. Cecilia, however, dismisses his plea, a massive fiery explosion erupting between them, as if to erase the very memory of those names. The inferno expands, consuming the space with its intense heat and light. She stands calmly amidst the raging flames, her back to him, seemingly unfazed by her own destructive power. The fire then rapidly dissipates, leaving only faint wisps of smoke in its wake. Ian watches the last embers fade, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. He then holds up a glowing orb, revealing his true intent as he states that he already knew she was a cold walker. Cecilia turns to face him, her expression unreadable, questioning why he chose this moment to reveal himself. Ian raises his arm, explaining that he needed her to come find him at the guild hall, leaving her to wonder if he had deliberately avoided her attack magic and what he truly was. A look of shock spreads across her face as his words sink in. Suddenly, sharp, crystalline ice shards erupt from the ground, lunging towards her with deadly precision. The air shatters, not with sound, but with the blinding, crystalline impact of pure ice magic, a colossal formation erupting skyward, its jagged peaks piercing the heavens like a frozen, impossible mountain range. And there, amidst the chilling aftermath, he stands, utterly unfazed, his gaze fixed on the frozen landscape he has wrought, a silent testament to his overwhelming power. A moment of profound silence hangs heavy in the air, the only sound the faint, ethereal hum of residual magic. With a swift, decisive motion, Ian Page extends his hand, a subtle surge of mana swirling around his fingertips. As razor-sharp ice spears materialize from the very air, crackling with frigid energy. He calls out, "Ice spear." Multiple crystalline projectiles now hover before him, poised to strike with deadly precision. A female mage, witnessing the sudden onslaught, recoils in shock, her eyes wide with disbelief as she cries out in alarm. But before her counter can fully form, Ian Page is already moving, a shimmering blue shield erupting around him, his voice cutting through the air, mana barrier. The female mage's own attack slams into the newly formed barrier, sending ripples of blue energy across its surface but failing to break through. A flicker of worry crosses her face, her earlier confidence replaced by a growing unease. Meanwhile, Ian Page begins to channel an even greater power, a fiery, crimson aura flaring around him, the ground beneath his feet glowing with intense magical energy. His gaze sharpens, golden eyes burning with fierce determination, as he focuses every ounce of his will into the impending attack. Then, with a guttural cry, he unleashes the stored energy, a devastating blast of pure, destructive force erupting from his form. The fiery blast expands outward with incredible speed, a swirling vortex of crimson and orange consuming everything in its path. Caught in the devastating aftermath of the fiery explosion, the female mage finds herself utterly immobilized, her own mana barrier holding her captive against the overwhelming force. With a violent crack, her defenses shatter, sending her reeling as the blue energy of her shield explodes outwards. The impact tears through her, a sickening crunch of flesh and bone, leaving deep, bleeding gashes across her arm. More blood erupts from the wounds, a stark testament to the sheer destructive power she just endured. Meanwhile, Ian Page stands amidst the fading blue magical residue, a trickle of blood at the corner of his mouth, his gaze fixed downwards. Without a moment's hesitation, he charges forward, a blur of motion through the still raging inferno he unleashed. The female mage, battered and bleeding, turns away, her back and shoulder now stained crimson from the brutal assault. Her eye widens in a mixture of terror and dawning comprehension, the full horror of her situation finally sinking in. Against all odds, she clings to consciousness, a desperate whisper escaping her lips, I'm alive." Collapsing onto the scorched earth, she lies prone, her body racked with pain, yet her mind races. A grim realization dawns upon her, that brat must be completely drained of mana after such a devastating spell, but the danger isn't over, others will surely come. Even as the magical energies of the barrier dissipate around her, the injured mage struggles to hold on to consciousness, a desperate plea escaping her lips, Hus. Ikiro. Her resolve hardening, she refuses to succumb to the pain, vowing, I'm not prepared to die yet. I have to protect my family, and I have to live. Meanwhile, Ian Page, with a chilling smirk, reveals his ruthless strategy, declaring, I plan to make a deal with my life, by selling you. The mage, still reeling from the attack, can only question his audacity, do you think that'll work? A confident smile plays on his lips as he confirms, course. He adds with a hint of disdain, cold-hearted. Those are words that even you guys don't know yet. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, demanding, what are you saying? The injured mage can only manage a faint murmur in response. Ian Page turns to see Aaron and Oliver approaching, their faces etched with concern, as Aaron exclaims, just happened. Cecilia. Oliver, equally bewildered, echoes the question, what happened? Aaron, noticing the mage's condition, presses Ian Page for answers, what happened to you? These wounds are. With a heavy gaze, Ian Page admits, I did it. His expression unreadable, he adds, I'm sorry for yourself. A flicker of uncertainty crosses his face as he clarifies, I don't consciously. A woman, her expression a mix of shock and disbelief, clutches her chest, recalling a conversation where someone was speaking, wearing something huge. Meanwhile, Ian Page recounts the incident, explaining how the woman had suddenly tried to kill him out of nowhere. Emperor Ragnar, his gaze sharp, questions if that's why Ian left her in such a state, to which Ian coolly replies that he needed to live. The Emperor demands proof, as it appeared as if his men were checking something within the grand structure. Ian, looking down in thought, reveals a crucial detail, a distinct mark on their bodies. The injured woman, her white dress stained with blood, looks utterly distraught, while Hwa stands behind her, a look of concern etched on his face. Aaron and Oliver confront Ian, with Aaron calling out to him and Oliver questioning if he isn't being too rough, reminding him about the Mage's Street. A hand, clad in a white glove, slowly draws a sword from its scabbard with a soft rustle. The injured woman gasps in distress as Hwa firmly pulls her by the arm, moving her along. Emperor Ragnar, now holding his drawn sword, declares sternly that they refuse to be processed. Aaron, his expression resolute, emphasizes that regardless of whether it's the mage of the tower or not, they have a duty to find the truth. Ian, looking down, concedes, but insists that they must at least let him heal her first, promising they can do whatever they want after the search is over. The investigators, after a thorough search, declare they've found nothing suspicious, leaving Cecilia to wonder if her own memories are betraying her. Her mind races, trying to comprehend the situation, as she grapples with the question of what she did wrong, and how she could have failed to protect herself. The repeated declaration of nothing suspicious echoes in her ears, a chilling confirmation that her attackers' claims might hold weight. A torrent of self-doubt washes over her, her internal monologue a desperate plea for understanding. What did I do wrong? How could I protect her? We have to heal her immediately. That intensity. The weight of the situation crushes her, leaving her to wonder if everything she believed was nothing but a lie. Suddenly, Ian Page steps forward, his gaze piercing, and with a single, pointed question, he challenges the entire premise, now. Without waiting for an answer, he swiftly moves towards Cecilia, his hand reaching out with a blur of motion, a faint magical shimmer trailing behind him. He gently but firmly takes hold of her, offering a quiet apology as he prepares to act, please. Excuse me. Cecilia, startled by his sudden movement, can only manage a confused query, as a vibrant blue glow emanates from his hand, spreading across her neck. The sudden burst of magic catches Oliver Ragwood off guard, his eyes widening in shock at the unexpected display. As the blue light intensifies, a complex magical symbol materializes on Cecilia's skin, revealing the shocking truth, a mana seal. The revelation leaves Cecilia stunned, her gaze fixed on Ian Page as she demands to know, what did you do? As the shocking revelation of the mana seal settles, Ian Page, still reeling from the discovery, admits he was wondering what the others were doing, implying he was checking for something specific. Meanwhile, the implications of such a mark begin to surface, revealing that cold walkers are sent to a special training school if they bear one, a secret known only to their managers. This type of mana seal is so potent and rare that even the Emperor himself once spent a year forming one, highlighting its immense power and significance. Turning to the injured mage, Oliver Ragwood demands to know if anyone present understands the meaning of this mysterious mark, his gaze fixed on Cecilia. He then directs his question to Ian, who, with a thoughtful expression, confesses that it's his first time encountering such a mark as well. Oliver hums in contemplation, acknowledging that despite the lack of immediate understanding, the mark itself is undeniable. He declares that it still serves as crucial evidence, then swiftly commands his subordinates to heal the injured mage. Cecilia, her face etched with confusion and distress, remains silent, her mind likely reeling from the implications of the mana seal. Oliver then issues another stern order, instructing his men to prepare a mana prison for her. Turning his attention back to the young mage, Oliver addresses Ian directly, his tone serious. He explains that if everything they've uncovered proves to be the truth, significant consequences will follow. With a final, weighty statement, Oliver assures Ian that the Emperor himself will reward him for his efforts. A young Ian Page, clad in a pristine military uniform, stands with an air of quiet confidence, his recent triumph over a third-class magician of the Ivory Tower clearly a topic of discussion. Emperor Ragnar, his own regal uniform gleaming, lets out a hearty laugh, admitting he never expected such a stellar performance from the young man. His gaze sharp, the Emperor then probes, asking for Ian's thoughts on the formidable Ivory Tower. A knowing smile plays on Ragnar's lips as he confirms, the Duchess's assessment of the young prodigy was indeed accurate. A hand rests gently on Ian's shoulder, a gesture of both pride and expectation. Ian, momentarily flustered by the attention, offers a humble his eyes cast downward. Then, with a sudden shift in tone, the Emperor commands a nearby captain to bring the young mage to him. Ian's expression shifts to one of surprise, his eyes widening slightly at the unexpected summons. Approaching the emperor, Ian respectfully asks if he has been called by his highness. With a deep bow, Ian receives the emperor's affirmative, confirming the summons. His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Ragnar, acknowledges the young magician's recent triumph, declaring his account of defeating and capturing the third-class magician of the Ivory Tower to be incredibly significant. Ian, ever composed, simply replies that he is flattered by the emperor's words. The emperor, with a regal gesture, extends his gratitude, stating that both he and the empire are thankful for Ian's actions. Then, a surprising offer, "Please tell me if there is anything you want," the emperor proposes, as Ian inwardly suspects a deeper motive, sensing the emperor's attempt to discern his true desires. Ian voices his surprise, repeating the emperor's question about his desires. A moment of internal deliberation passes, as he decides to simply let the emperor reveal his intentions. With a resolute expression, he declares his intention to tell the emperor what he wants. His gaze drifts towards a distant window, a question forming in his mind as he wonders if the emperor refers to the site of the old ivory tower. The emperor, noticing his focus, inquires why he asks about that particular location, adding that there isn't much left there. Ian sighs, admitting he's only heard about it through stories, yet he's always been curious to visit the place at least once. He muses that he must have been a little kid when he first heard of it, while the emperor, with a hint of impatience, states there's no time for such musings. Undeterred, Ian expresses his belief that he'll be able to visit it sometime in the future. His mind still reeling from the emperor's dismissal, Ian's thoughts drift to the enigmatic old ivory tower, a place rumored to hold an item of immense power, hidden deep within its forgotten depths. He recalls the ancient dragon language scroll, a text that played a crucial, almost terrifying role in the forbidden magic of death. And then, the legendary book containing the dragon's secrets, a tome he had miraculously been able to read in his past life, right before his demise. Yet, even with that incredible advantage, he had only grasped a fraction of its true power, leaving him to wonder how much more he could possibly comprehend in this current existence. His mind, a library of forgotten knowledge, continued to process these profound mysteries, even as the world around him moved on. Under the silent gaze of the moon and stars, the journey continued, carrying him further from his past and closer to an uncertain future. The rhythmic sounds of the night, perhaps the gentle rustle of leaves or the soft thud of hooves, accompanied their passage through the darkened landscape. A grand carriage, escorted by a vigilant knight, rumbled along the road, its occupants nearing their destination. Inside, his mother, Lady Page, gazed out the window, her expression thoughtful, as the world outside blurred past. Turning from the view, she softly called out, her voice carrying a gentle inquiry. He met her gaze, a slight smile gracing his lips, acknowledging her words with a simple affirmation. With a reassuring tone, he promised that once they reached the capital, he would personally guide her, addressing her with respectful affection. As the carriage rumbles onward, a seasoned mage beside him offers a thoughtful observation. His mother, Lady Page, smiles gently, her own reflections echoing the journey's significance. But for Ian, the journey feels anything but comfortable, a subtle unease stirring within him. The rhythmic creak of the carriage wheels accompanies his gaze out the window, the world rushing by. Suddenly, the journey concludes, a servant announcing their arrival to a now impeccably dressed Ian. The grand capital city, a beacon of power and intrigue, welcomes them under the twilight sky, its ancient architecture bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. By day, the city reveals its full majesty, a sprawling testament to imperial might and history. He learns their stay is set for 2 days, a brief window for whatever awaits them. With a subtle gesture, he acknowledges the directive, ready to fulfill the emperor's command. He then declares that they are the first to enter this exclusive domain during their visit, a privilege he intends to manage. Addressing the assembled attendants, he prepares to take charge of their arrangements. With a confident resolve, he asserts his role, promising to personally guide them to their accommodations. The grand capital city looms into view, its majestic architecture a stark contrast to the journey's rustic landscapes. As the carriage rolls through the gates, 2 villagers whisper, wondering if the new arrivals are nobles, while inside, Ian, his mother, and Aaron observe the bustling scene, with one villager exclaiming, "To think that His Highness would post guards in our village." Meanwhile, a stern-faced captain, flanked by 2 guards, watches the procession, a hint of amusement in his voice as he remarks, "Ha ha ha. Well, it's nothing." His laughter echoes with a subtle edge, "Ha ha ha." As Ian steps out, he muses to himself, I guess he treats the citizens in a humane way. A memory flashes through his mind, a glimpse into a past life where he stood in a military uniform, reflecting on the captain's unwavering loyalty. In my past life. The captain, even then, carried a dark and hostile expression, a constant fixture on his face. He always had a dark and hostile expression on his face. His gaze, sharp and unyielding, spoke volumes of his character. Ian recalls the captain's unwavering devotion, a loyalty that transcended mere duty, since Ragnar was always by my side. He continues his internal monologue, acknowledging the captain's steadfastness despite his own past shortcomings, so I guess he makes those kinds of expressions. To think one who did not fit loyalty or ability. I can tell the current Emperor Ragnar is a good prince. Snapping back to the present, Ian addresses the captain directly, his voice firm and clear, Captain. The captain, now walking behind Ian, responds with a question, his tone hinting at their shared history, when will I be allowed to use the old ivory sword? Ian questions Douglas's sudden interest in his movements, then admits he too had been hoping for a chance to explore. Douglas, looking down, reveals he needs to visit the neighboring regions himself, specifically at dawn. A sudden thought strikes Ian, who suggests they go together the very next day, catching Douglas completely off guard before he hesitantly agrees. Overjoyed by the unexpected invitation, Douglas beams with pure delight, his gratitude evident in his enthusiastic thanks. Meanwhile, Ian watches him, a quiet satisfaction settling over his features as he observes Douglas's genuine happiness. Still deep in conversation, she asks if her husband was also a magician, only to clarify that Aaron was just a normal person. He had vanished before Ian was even born, simply disappearing after a regular day at work. A lone figure, cloaked and mysterious, walked away into the dense forest, leaving behind a void that would never truly be filled. It was 5 long years later when only his belongings returned, a stark reminder of the tragedy that had befallen them. Bringing herself back to the present, she muses that recently, Ian has been, her voice trailing off as a heavy silence fills the room. Shaking her head, she quickly dismisses the thought, deciding not to dwell on the painful memories. As the image of the cloaked figure lingers, Ian himself looks down, a quiet "it's nothing" escaping his lips, perhaps to himself, perhaps to an unseen presence. Meanwhile, under a vast, star-dusted sky, a quaint building with a rounded roof stands, a soft sound echoing in the night. An epic journey unfolded, guided by unseen forces across the windswept roads of stars. An endless odyssey that stretched through time, culminating in a new beginning after countless ages. This was the dawn of a new quest, a path illuminated by shimmering particles that danced around the lone traveler. He pondered if his return was simply a consequence of his past entry into the World Tower, or if something far deeper was at play. His gaze fell upon the colossal structure, its ancient grandeur stretching towards the heavens. He felt an undeniable pull, as if guided by an unseen hand towards its towering entrance. Stepping inside, the vastness of the interior echoed with silence, a testament to centuries of solitude. He began his ascent, his footsteps echoing softly on the grand staircase. A familiar sight greeted him, the very essence of the place unchanged, as if time itself had stood still within its walls. 300 years prior, this very tower was erected by a legendary figure, a man who became the Dragon King's descendant and master of his kin. Centuries ago, the Dragon's army, led by the Dragon King's descendant, waged a brutal war, their sole objective to obliterate the empire itself. But the Emperor and the Dragon King's descendant, 2 titans of their era, clashed in a cataclysmic battle, their powers shaking the very foundations of the world, a conflict that would forever be etched into the annals of history. Ultimately, the Emperor emerged victorious, defeating the Dragon King's descendant and bringing a fragile peace to the land, a peace that came at an unimaginable cost. The people, in their awe and reverence, began to call this colossal structure the World Tower, a monument to the Emperor's triumph, and a symbol of their enduring hope. It was here that the capital, Green Reverdium, was founded, a beacon of civilization built around the tower's immense power, but over time, even the greatest monuments can fall into ruin. Now, centuries later, the once proud capital lay abandoned by its people, a desolate testament to forgotten glory. Ian Page, having traversed countless miles to reach this very spot, scanned the crumbling architecture, a question echoing in his mind, was this the precise location he sought? His gaze dropped, searching the ground for any sign, any faint trace of the power he knew lay hidden within these ancient stones, his determination unwavering. A grunt of effort escaped him as he knelt, pressing his hand against the cold, hard surface, a surge of energy beginning to flow. With a sharp chack, a hidden mechanism engaged beneath his touch, the very air around him crackling with anticipation. Then, with a resounding schwa, a brilliant, ethereal light erupted from his outstretched hand, blinding particles swirling into existence. The radiant energy expanded rapidly, concentric rings of pure magic rippling outwards, engulfing the desolate space in a breathtaking display of power. As he continues his journey through the ancient, crumbling halls of the World Tower, a monstrous, gray-skinned face with glowing red eyes suddenly emerges from the oppressive darkness, its predatory gaze locking onto him. The massive, winged form of a gargoyle descends from the high ceiling with terrifying speed, its presence a shockwave of ancient malice. He is utterly taken aback, a thought flashing through his mind, I was really surprised when I. The creature lunges, a blur of claws and teeth, moving with impossible speed for its size. Its gaping maw snaps with guttural, ancient cries, a sound that echoes the depths of forgotten ages. Razor-sharp talons swipe through the air, barely missing him, the force of the blow stirring dust from the ancient stones. His surprise deepens as he processes the impossible reality, since I never once thought that a gargoyle that had gone extinct 300 years ago was hiding here. The gargoyle's missed attack, fueled by raw power, slams into a massive stone pillar, the ancient structure groaning under the devastating impact. The beast lets out a furious, echoing shriek of frustration, its rage palpable as it realizes its failure. Ian observes the damage to the pillar, his expression a mix of calculation and grim determination, ready to face this unexpected, ancient foe. Without hesitation, Ian Page unleashes his power, a vibrant blue sphere of magic coalescing in his hand, ready to strike with an aqua jet. The energy surges, forming a torrent of swirling azure power, a dazzling display of his mastery over the elements. With a decisive thrust, he launches the powerful aqua jet, sending it hurtling towards the ancient beast. The spell connects with devastating force, slamming into the gargoyle's chest and sending shockwaves rippling across its stony form. A blinding explosion of blue energy erupts, engulfing the creature in a maelstrom of water and light, tearing through the air. As the dust begins to clear, the gargoyle is visibly battered, its ancient form pushed back, but still standing, a testament to its monstrous resilience. Observing the creature's state, Ian's expression hardens, a flicker of confidence in his eyes as he muses that he can easily dispatch it if this is all it has. But the gargoyle, despite its wounds, is far from defeated, its damaged form preparing to unleash even greater effort in its weakened state. With a sudden, explosive burst of speed, the gargoyle lunges, closing the distance between them in an instant, its predatory instincts taking over. A guttural "grrrr" rips from its throat, its eyes flaring with malevolent purple light as it prepares to tear into its foe. Its massive claw arcs through the air, a blur of stone and fury aimed directly at the young mage. The relentless assault continues, each strike carrying the weight of centuries of dormant power, threatening to overwhelm him. Unyielding, he stands firm, his cloak billowing around him as he prepares for the next strike. With a swift incantation, he unleashes an ice spear, a deadly shard of frozen magic hurtling towards his foe. The icy projectile slams into the gargoyle's chest, shattering on impact and sending the monstrous creature reeling back. A guttural cry of fury erupts from the beast, its red eyes blazing with renewed aggression as it shakes off the attack. But Ian remains unfazed, his gaze locked on the gargoyle as he prepares his next devastating spell. His golden eyes ignite with raw power, a surge of lightning magic crackling around him as he focuses his will. Then, with a thunderous roar, blinding bolts of pure lightning erupt from his form, tearing through the air. He stands enveloped in a brilliant golden aura, a conduit of devastating electrical energy as the spell reaches its peak. The lightning strikes with explosive force, a blinding flash consuming the gargoyle and leaving only a lingering echo of its power. With the monstrous threat finally neutralized, Ian looks down, a quiet satisfaction settling over him, knowing the path is now clear. His gaze sharpens, a new determination in his eyes as he declares, "It's about time it's open." Stepping into a vast, ruined chamber, he surveys the ancient, desolate space, ready for whatever lies ahead. A sudden, thunderous crash echoes through the air, as a square opening appears in the ceiling, rain pouring down into the darkness below. Looking up at the unexpected downpour, he realizes this is exactly how he arrived in this world before, a chilling sense of déjà vu washing over him. Without hesitation, he conjures a feather fall spell, glowing particles swirling around his hand, preparing for the descent. Then, with a graceful leap, he plunges through the opening, a soft, blue aura cushioning his fall. His foot touches down with barely a ripple, landing perfectly on the shallow water that covers the chamber floor. He finds himself in a vast, ruined hall, its ancient stones crumbling, a single, mysterious table standing amidst the debris, emanating a faint, crackling energy. A subtle smile plays on his lips, a hint of anticipation in his eyes as he surveys the enigmatic surroundings. The chamber holds a secret, a powerful artifact he'd encountered far sooner than expected, the legendary dragon's language scroll, its magic pulsating with ancient power. Its cover, intricately designed and bound in ancient leather, hints at the profound knowledge contained within its pages. As he approaches the table, he wonders about the mysterious individual who might have concealed such a treasure in this forgotten place. His gaze sharpens, a new thought sparking in his mind: could this relic be connected to the very first magician, a legendary figure lost to time? Holding the ancient dragon's language scroll in his hands, he feels the weight of its immense power, lamenting his inability to decipher its secrets, knowing it could make him the wealthiest man alive. He stares at the ancient text, a flicker of confusion crossing his face as the words remain stubbornly unreadable. "It's empty," he murmurs, the weight of the scroll feeling strangely hollow in his hands. A rhythmic thrumming begins to emanate from the artifact, a faint pulse of magic hinting at a deeper secret hidden within its pages. His brow furrows in thought, a sudden realization dawning on him as he considers the scroll's true nature. Perhaps. The very air around the scroll crackles with arcane energy, a complex magical diagram flaring to life, radiating an intense blue glow as if echoing his unspoken question: is it because it's already been used? Another soft thrum resonates from the ancient artifact, pulling his attention back to its enigmatic surface. A wave of memories washes over him, the echoes of a past life where the dragon's language was a familiar tool. "If only I could read dragon's language," he laments, "I used it in my past life a lot more time." He ponders the implications, his mind racing to connect the dots between his past knowledge and the scroll's current state. A sudden, sharp pain grips his throat, a physical manifestation of his inability to vocalize the ancient words. "I can't make a sound," he gasps, clutching his neck. The truth crystallizes in his mind: the dragon's language isn't a language only through the voice. It's a magical language that uses mana as its roots. A profound understanding settles over him, leading to the only logical conclusion. Then, there's only one explanation. He grasps the scroll tighter, the revelation hitting him with full force: the only way the dragon's language can be readable, and the only way the mana can be used is through the heart. A wry smile touches his lips, a bitter memory surfacing. I had thought I could constantly turn back time. He knew it, deep down. This ancient power, this dragon's language, it could have been catastrophic if he hadn't grasped its true nature. A profound realization washes over him, connecting the threads of his past and present, a stark reminder of his second chance at life. But with that knowledge comes a heavy burden, a weight that settles deep within his soul. The journey nears its end, as a voice announces their imminent arrival at the grand capital of Gregorian, addressing the young mage, Ian. The sprawling metropolis, a beacon of civilization, comes into view, its countless buildings stretching towards the horizon. Carriages and people bustle through its streets, a vibrant tapestry of life unfolding beneath the clear sky. Inside a carriage, Ian gazes out, a quiet determination in his eyes as he acknowledges, he has finally arrived in the capital. Later, in a more private setting, Ian confides in Aaron that he should maintain his guard, sensing the underlying currents of this new environment. Meanwhile, Cecilia, lost in thought, considers the implications if she were to re-establish contact with another continent. Her expression darkens as she ponders a dire prophecy: the goblin threat would inevitably endanger all of mankind. With a resolute gaze, Cecilia concludes that things were about to become very interesting, in many ways. Back with Ian, a thoughtful expression crosses his face, as if contemplating the weight of his new surroundings. He rides on horseback, approaching a magnificent, domed structure, its grandeur hinting at its importance. However, his path is abruptly blocked by a group of robed figures, one of whom raises a staff and commands him to halt. Arriving at the grand entrance, he's immediately met with an unexpected challenge, a clear sign that his presence here is anything but welcome. Standing in his path, a stern-faced tower leader, staff in hand, declares his authority, making it clear that Ian's journey ends here. Unfazed, Ian challenges the man's right to stop him, demanding to know what authority he possesses. The tower leader's response is swift and absolute: he acts on the direct orders of His Majesty, the Emperor himself. He further explains that the Emperor has received a formal request, a plea from the imperial family of the Gregorian Empire. Ian's expression hardens as he hears the name, Gregorian, a place he knows to be steeped in ancient magic and powerful mages. The tower leader, sensing his impatience, insists that such matters should be handled with the utmost discretion, as quickly and quietly as possible. He advises Ian to take a rest, suggesting that the tower's defenses are impenetrable, and that any attempt to force his way through would be futile. But Ian's resolve is unshaken, his gaze fixed on the tower leader as he issues a chilling command: to hand over the dinner to the tower lord. His voice drops to a dangerous whisper, a clear threat underlying his words, reminding the man that the captain is not yet ready for his meal. He continues his journey, a lone figure approaching a formidable structure, as a voice from within the building questions the truth of his identity, wondering if he truly is the one they've been waiting for. The unseen speaker urges caution, insisting that they must watch him closely, for his presence is a significant event. Meanwhile, a group of guards stands ready, one of them expressing confusion over the situation, unsure why they're being ordered to stand down when a magician of his caliber is approaching. From a hidden vantage point, Margaret observes the unfolding scene, her thoughts racing as she realizes the intricate political maneuvering at play. The truth is, the Emperor isn't trying to protect him at all, he's merely using the guise of the divine times to manipulate the situation, ensuring no knights interfere with the arrival of a powerful magician. He's holding her captive in the Tower of Times, forcing her to look for a way to shorten the Emperor's life, knowing full well that even if she's a spy from Colombo, she won't refuse such a desperate plea. The only way to escape the underground prison is to fulfill his dark request, a grim reality that weighs heavily on her mind. Margaret sighs, her expression filled with worry, muttering about the Emperor's true intentions and how she wishes she didn't have to think about it. Meanwhile, Ian, seemingly oblivious to the machinations around him, confidently states that there's only one less thing he needs to worry about now. As he approaches, Margaret greets him, her voice a stark contrast to her internal turmoil. She informs him that His Highness wishes to visit a special place, a location that will lead them directly to the Imperial Palace. The Grand Imperial Palace stands majestically in the distance, its opulent architecture hinting at the power and intrigue that await them within its walls. He stands before a magnificent estate, a place he remembers receiving in a past life when he was 18. With a subtle shift in his stance, his journey continues, each step carrying the weight of his unique destiny. Turning to his companion, he confirms that this very mansion was a gift from his grandfather. Margaret, ever observant, presses him for more details, asking about the rest of the story. His mind races, connecting the threads of time, realizing that while he received it at 18 in his past life, in this current existence, the mansion came to him a full 14 years earlier. He then informs Margaret that the mansion has a name, and for now, she is to address him as Sir before accompanying him to the palace. He recalls a time when she would address him directly as Ian Page, a stark contrast to the formality he now demands within the imperial court. Margaret, with a hint of hesitation, requests permission to explore the mansion first. A slight surprise crosses his face, but then, he readily agrees to her request. A gentle smile graces his lips, granting her the freedom to explore. With a grateful expression, Margaret offers her thanks. The Grand Mansion stands, its secrets awaiting their imminent exploration. The Grand Mansion, a symbol of his newfound status, looms before them. As they approach, Margaret, his attendant, can't help but exclaim, "Oh my." He, however, simply asks, "How do you like it?" With a confident smirk, he declares, "This house is ours from now on." Margaret, still reeling from the revelation, confirms, "This place," to which he affirms, "Yes." She then muses, "But I heard it was already passed down." He, meanwhile, reflects on how this grand estate, a fitting abode for an 8th-class magician, arrived in his possession far earlier in this life than he remembered, wondering what his mother would think of such an unexpected turn of events. With a knowing gaze, he adds, "It's meant to be used by royalty." Margaret, captivated by the mansion's splendor, requests, "May I explore it first?" He grants her wish, knowing that in this life, he possesses the power to achieve anything he desires, a stark contrast to his past self. Margaret, her eyes wide with wonder, simply breathes, "Ah. Is it?" She realizes that this time, she will be able to see it all. A close-up reveals his thoughtful expression, as he internally describes the mansion as wide and gorgeous, yet also ponders a deeper, unspoken aspect. The interior of the mansion, vast and intricate, poses a new challenge, but how are we supposed to find this place? As they stand before the opulent estate, a sudden exclamation from Margaret breaks the silence, calling out to her brother, who calmly inquires about her distress, only for her to declare a new, impending request. Her grievance quickly becomes clear, as she laments that their mother doesn't even consider cleaning the house, a sentiment Ian listens to patiently. Meanwhile, the camera sweeps across the magnificent structure, revealing the sheer scale of the mansion bestowed upon Ian Page by the Emperor himself. Its sprawling architecture and intricate details speak volumes of its royal origins, a testament to the power and prestige of its former owner. The mansion, a true marvel of design, stands as a symbol of imperial grandeur, its gardens meticulously maintained, its facade gleaming under the sun. Inside, Ian adjusts the cuff of his ornate jacket, a subtle gesture betraying a flicker of unease beneath his composed exterior. He admits to himself a touch of apprehension, recalling how in his past life, he never properly greeted the Emperor, a missed opportunity that now weighs on him. His attire, a rich blue and gold ensemble, reflects his elevated status, befitting a man of growing influence within the empire. As he gazes upon a grand portrait, his thoughts drift to a time when he was already an 8th-class magician, a formidable power he wielded even before this current life. The portrait itself depicts the Emperor, a figure revered for his profound wisdom and unwavering benevolence, his regal presence captured in oil and canvas. Turning to Margaret, Ian expresses a touch of self-admiration, commenting on his fondness for the portrait of himself, a subtle nod to his past achievements. He then gazes out a window, a thoughtful escaping his lips, his mind undoubtedly already strategizing his next moves within this grand, new chapter of his life. Lost in thought, Ian's mind drifts back to the prince's palace, a place of power and intrigue. He ponders the emperor's current state, a man who was once the prince, the son of a concubine, now ruling with absolute authority. The emperor's portrait, adorned with vibrant red roses, looms large, a stark reminder of the man who had once been his closest friend, a bond now fractured by time and circumstance. He remembers the emperor's words, a chilling declaration of his intent to become the strongest, a goal that had driven him to unimaginable lengths. Now, in this new life, Ian wonders, what should he do when he meets him again? His thoughts are interrupted as he walks through the opulent palace halls, his elegant attire rustling softly with each step. Suddenly, a familiar figure approaches, a loyal attendant who has served the royal family for years. The attendant, Roi, bows respectfully, informing him that His Majesty is waiting. A memory flickers to life, as Ian Page finds himself kneeling in a grand hall, a voice echoing, "We are waiting for you." The opulent throne room shimmers with golden light, its intricate details hinting at the immense power held within. There, upon the majestic throne, sits Emperor Ragnar, his gaze fixed upon the kneeling mage, who remains bowed in deference. Ian's voice, filled with humility, barely rises above a whisper, "Someone as lowly as me dares to meet you, my majesty." The emperor's expression is unreadable as he commands, "Raise your head." His words carry the weight of his title, as he addresses the young mage, the hero of the north, Ian Page. Ian, still showing deference, responds, "Thank you, your majesty," before adding with a hint of his usual candor, "No need to be so hard." Now standing, the young mage playfully remarks, "You probably never got yourself to stand up." The emperor, a slight smirk playing on his lips, retorts, "You never learned manners, or you're just so hardy." Ian's thoughts drift, recalling a similar sentiment. "Even when I first met Ragnar, he said that to me." As they walk together, the emperor's voice shifts to a more casual tone, inquiring, "Did you like the mansion? I gave you one of my royal." As the emperor's booming voice declared his intention to gift more homes, Aaron's mind raced, questioning the propriety of such a grand gesture, while Ian Page could only manage a surprised, almost bewildered, "Huh?" Aaron, ever the meticulous aide, couldn't help but internally question the young mage's presence before such a high authority, his expression a mix of concern and confusion. Meanwhile, the emperor, with his characteristic bluntness, cut straight to the chase, demanding to know if his previous gift was to Ian's liking. Ian, still processing the emperor's generosity, recalled how delighted his own mother had been by the emperor's previous kindness. A slight smile touched his lips as he acknowledged his mother's joy, before the emperor pressed further, asking if he was a fan of the mansion. Ian, caught between gratitude and a touch of overwhelm, admitted he couldn't refuse such a grand gesture, especially since it came from the emperor himself. The weight of the emperor's generosity, and perhaps his own growing responsibilities, seemed to settle on Ian's shoulders, leaving him in a moment of quiet contemplation. Unaware of Ian's internal struggle, or perhaps simply choosing to ignore it, the emperor pondered if he needed to be even more explicit in his intentions. It was a known fact that Ragnar, much like the emperor himself, preferred to speak his mind directly, a trait that often left others scrambling to keep up. Ian, however, seemed to have a handle on the emperor's unique communication style, responding with a thoughtful, "No, not yet," indicating a careful consideration of the emperor's offer. He then humbly explained that the new mansion likely wouldn't compare to the emperor's previous, more extravagant gift, and that he doubted his ability to manage such a large estate, though he still expressed his sincere gratitude for the generous offer. He had heard it 100 times, yet the emperor's words still resonated, affirming his unique and special nature. The emperor's gaze sharpened, almost challenging, as if questioning if he had forgotten the weight of his own significance. From the sidelines, Aaron watched the exchange, a silent observer to the emperor's unwavering favor, his thoughts unreadable. A faint blush crept across Ian's cheeks, a rare display of modesty from the formidable mage, as he struggled to respond. Finally, he managed to utter a single, respectful word, acknowledging the emperor's presence. The emperor, however, merely scoffed at his humility, dismissing his protests with a wave of his hand. Aaron, still observing, felt a surge of surprise. It was the first time he had witnessed the emperor display such overt protectiveness, a sentiment he found both unexpected and intriguing. He knew then that he would have to lend his full support to the young mage, a decision he affirmed with a quiet conviction. The emperor's thoughts drifted, marveling at how much the young man had grown, recalling the praise even his own knights had bestowed upon him, and noting his recent industriousness, which now warranted a fitting reward. With a directness that brooked no argument, the emperor leaned forward, demanding to know his desires. His voice resonated with authority, repeating the offer, asking if there was anything at all he wished for. Ian finally understood the depth of the emperor's unwavering support, a realization that settled within him, leaving him to ponder what he truly desired. He knew his request might seem childish, perhaps even unbecoming of someone in his position. Yet he pressed on, stating, "I want to look around the palace." The emperor's golden eyes narrowed slightly, a hint of surprise in his voice as he echoed, "Look around?" Ian clarified his desire, explaining, "I want to freely roam around the palace and tell my mother what I saw." He continued, "And the kind of place this palace is, and how big it is." The emperor, observing his earnestness, gently chided him, "You don't have to beg like this." A thoughtful expression crossed his face as he considered the request, concluding, "I think you should allow." Ian listened intently, his expression unreadable. With a decisive nod, the emperor declared, Fine. I'll give you." Ian bowed deeply in gratitude, adding, "As long as you're in the palace, I can go anywhere I want, you will." The emperor then presented him with a gleaming golden pass, explaining, "You can also show it to someone else and tell them to guess you." Holding the ornate pass, Ian pondered the emperor's generosity, wondering, is that all you want? What more could he want? The emperor, his gaze unwavering, declares his intention to personally reward Ian Page. Before commanding his attendants to bring forth a grand offering, a gesture that leaves Ian silently observing the unfolding spectacle. A massive, ornate chest is carefully placed before them, its presence hinting at untold riches. And as the lid is lifted, a blinding cascade of gold coins and glittering jewels spills forth, a truly extravagant display of imperial generosity. But the emperor's benevolence doesn't end there, as he continues, explaining that the palace maids, who diligently maintain the royal residence daily, will now be dispatched to Ian's own mansion, ensuring his mother's utmost comfort and care. A quiet sigh of relief escapes him, the thought of his mother no longer burdened by household chores bringing a moment of peace, as he acknowledges the emperor's thoughtful gesture. With a respectful bow, Ian expresses his profound gratitude, his voice echoing through the grand hall. The exchange concludes, leaving Ian to ponder the true meaning behind such overwhelming generosity, a silent question hanging in the air between them. Later, as he walks through the palace's opulent corridors, his mind races with the implications of the emperor's actions. He muses on the stark contrast of this newfound benevolence compared to past interactions, a deep suspicion stirring within him regarding the emperor's sudden attention. Clutching the golden pass, he feels an intense scrutiny surrounding him, concluding that he is likely being tested, a pawn in a larger imperial game. The whispers of the past echo, reminding all that suspicion is not merely a flaw, but a fundamental pillar for those who would rule and govern. A philosophy Emperor Ragnar himself had always championed. His words, a constant reminder of the intricate dance between power and paranoia. Meanwhile, the rhythmic thud of footsteps echoes through a grand hall, as someone makes their way deeper into the heart of the imperial domain. A voice, unseen but resolute, urges a focus on the crucial matters at hand, acknowledging the pressing scarcity of time. Finally, the journey culminates at a magnificent estate, its opulent gates hinting at the power within. There, a stern guard greets the arriving magician, demanding to know the purpose of his visit. Ian, recognizing the emperor's presence, confirms his invitation, and requests entry with a polite but firm tone. Internally, he devises a cover story, planning to feign a search for his mother while heading towards his true destination. Having successfully navigated the initial entry, he finally reaches his destination, the formidable empire's sanctuary. As he walks through the grand interior, the sheer scale of the imperial residence is palpable. Suddenly, Emperor Ragnar's voice booms, expressing his fondness for the location, and declaring himself the sole field page, whose loyalty to the emperor is unmatched. He continues, lamenting his current status as merely a prince with insufficient staff, but vows to claim this sanctuary as his own one day. Emperor Ragnar, ever the pragmatist, considers the implications of his words, a subtle smirk playing on his lips as he acknowledges the truth of his own ambition. Meanwhile, deep within the empire's sanctuary, a lone guard stands watch, a low growl escaping him as he senses an intruder. His eyes dart nervously, a silent alarm blaring in his mind. The guard lets out a series of strained grunts and gasps, his body tensing as he prepares for an unseen threat. Ian Page, unfazed, listens as the guard laments that the other guards have vanished, clearly frustrated by his lack of cooperation, a hint of surprise crossing his face at the revelation. Ignoring the guard's complaints, Ian presses on, his mind focused on his objective, asking if the location he seeks is near the first emperor's coffin, glowing particles of magic already beginning to swirl around him. The guard points vaguely into the distance, confirming that it should be somewhere in the vicinity, leaving Ian to continue his search through the vast, echoing halls. As he moves deeper into the sanctuary, Ian extends his senses, his hand glowing with a soft, ethereal light, the magical energy radiating from him like a beacon. His golden eyes flash with intense magical power, the aura around him flaring as he finally pinpoints his target, a triumphant declaration of "found it" echoing in his mind. In the vast expanse of the cosmos, Ian Page holds a shimmering blue orb, his gaze fixed on its ethereal glow. A triumphant realization dawns on his face as he declares, "I found it." The scene shifts to a complex, glowing magical diagram etched onto the ground, pulsating with arcane energy, a testament to the power he now wields. With a surge of power, a devastating ice spear erupts from his command, striking an unseen target with chilling precision. A satisfied smirk plays on his lips as he regards the orb once more, uttering a confident, "Nice." His thoughts turn to the task at hand, knowing this newfound power will be sufficient, while a voice from off-panel nervously questions their late-night excursion. Douglas Heyman, his face etched with surprise and apprehension, struggles to comprehend the situation, muttering, "Who is that? Don't tell me." With another flash of brilliant blue energy from his hand, Ian unleashes a disable spell, its power radiating outwards. A creaking sound echoes through the confined space as Douglas looks on in disbelief, while Ian glances back, seemingly unfazed by the unfolding events. With a resolute expression, Ian confirms his understanding, a soft click accompanying his words. Douglas's heart pounds with growing anxiety, his worried gaze fixed on the unfolding mystery. A soft thud echoes, a subtle shift in the grand, silent halls of power. Another quiet impact follows, the air thick with unspoken tension. Then a third, almost imperceptible, as if something significant has just been placed before royalty. A young man, Green River, stands poised, his gaze sharp as he considers the implications of the current situation, muttering that this place is a little too much. He addresses an unseen figure, his tone respectful yet firm, acknowledging their highness. Meanwhile, a young woman named Harry, the first prince's blood-related younger sister, reflects on the gravity of their position, noting that few people visit this place, and even fewer pass by it. She continues, her expression thoughtful, considering that there are only 3 descendants at this time, and no matter who it is, it cannot be Ragnar. Green River, with a determined glint in his eye, acknowledges their individual responsibilities, affirming that they each have their roles to play. As the conversation continues, Green River questions, "Your Highness, why don't you let the Emperor know about it?" Harry, however, dismisses the idea, declaring that it simply won't do. She elaborates, explaining that the Emperor, don't you agree that the royal tower is dangerous? Green River, understanding her concern, reassures her, I'm sure the Emperor would understand. He then adds a crucial detail, since it's about the first prince and my older sister. His words seem to resonate, as he simply replies, I understand. Harry, however, shifts the topic, asking, have you memorized the basic spells I taught you last time? She then demonstrates, her hands glowing with a soft light, explaining, let the mana flow like this. A soft, ethereal glow surrounds her as she continues her instruction, her movements graceful and precise. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Ian Page, who looks up with a startled expression, a single exclamation escaping his lips. Back with Harry and Green River, she continues to teach, her focus unwavering as she guides him through the magical principles. This is the dynamic between Harry and Green River, a princess and her loyal companion, bound by magic and royal duties. Meanwhile, in a different time, a younger Emperor Ragnar gazes out a window, his expression contemplative as he reflects on his own path, having followed his brother into the university and then into the military. The weight of a past decision lingered, a life quietly brought to an end. Meanwhile, in a different part of the royal palace, Princess Harry couldn't help but wonder about the sheer power of a certain magician, a talent so immense it was almost unbelievable. Across the sprawling complex, Ian Page mused on the same topic, acknowledging that private magic education, conducted outside the royal tower and the academy, was indeed a reality. Back with the princess, she turned to Green River, expecting him to be fully aware of these clandestine practices, only for him to apologize, admitting his ignorance. A moment of quiet reflection passed over her, her expression thoughtful. Suddenly, her composure broke, a flicker of alarm crossing her features as Green River, noticing her distress, urgently inquired about her well-being. Her eyes darted around the room, a chilling thought forming in her mind. She had heard a sound, and the terrifying implication was that someone might be watching them, a prospect that filled her with dread. With a sense of urgency, she decided to conclude their session for the day, her mind still racing with the possibility of unseen eyes. The very air of the royal tower seemed to whisper its exclusivity, a place where only those of royal blood were permitted entry. Its grand, columned halls stood as a testament to this privilege, imposing and majestic. Strolling through these very halls, Ian Page couldn't help but feel a profound sense of relief that he wasn't subjected to the rigors of princess class. A slight smirk played on his lips, his expression conveying a mix of amusement and disdain for such trivialities. A quiet concern hangs in the air, a silent question about Princess Harry, who, despite her tender age of 10, performs remarkably well in her magical studies. Her exceptional talent is likely due to her connection to the Mary of the Tower, a powerful entity said to protect Emperor Ragnar himself. With a determined gaze, the young princess continues her practice, unaware of the watchful eyes. Meanwhile, the serene imperial gardens bask in the golden light of the afternoon, a stark contrast to the hidden complexities within. A different kind of concern weighs on Ian Page, who worries about the princess getting sick in the tower, as he turns to Aaron, asking if the master magician has thoroughly examined the area. Aaron, ever the pragmatist, assures him that his inspection was more than sufficient. Satisfied with the answer, Ian nods, his expression thoughtful. The vast sky stretches above them, a silent witness to their movements through the imperial palace grounds. As they walk away from the building, Ian pauses, calling out to Aaron with a sudden thought. Inside a grand hall, the young mage inquires, wondering about the whereabouts of his mother and the others. Aaron explains that Lady Page is currently engaged in conversation with an imperial palace servant, while Douglas is busy inspecting the imperial mansion, a revelation that makes Ian exclaim in awe. From a high vantage point, both Ian and Aaron gaze down at the sprawling structure, overwhelmed by its immense scale, a silent "oh" escaping the young mage's lips. After the awe-inspiring sight of the imperial mansion, Ian Page finds himself in a more intimate setting, exchanging pleasantries with a distinguished-looking man. With a polite but firm tone, the man addresses him, Mr. Reed, could I have a chat with you for a moment? Reed, seemingly in a hurry, begins to walk away, leaving Ian to ponder his next move. Ian watches him go, a slight frown creasing his brow as he muses, he's so busy, he doesn't have time to chat. His thoughts, however, quickly turn to a more pressing matter, a dangerous concoction known as the Poison Master's creation, one that paralyzes the body and makes the user lose their mind. Soon after, Ian manages to corner Reed, presenting him with a pouch containing the very ingredients for such a potion, his expression serious. Reed, surprised by the sudden proposition, questions him, are you telling me you're making a secret potion with such a dangerous mushroom? Ian clarifies his intent, explaining that while a poison potion might be possible, he needs a secret potion, one that can counter intervention magic. His gaze is intense, conveying the gravity of his request, as he awaits Reed's understanding. Ian reiterates his need, I need a secret potion that will help avoid that magic. Reed, now fully grasping the complexity, considers the challenge, be possible. I would need to experiment. Is it urgent? Ian, left alone once more, contemplates the implications of his urgent request, the weight of the unknown magic heavy on his mind. A sharp rap echoes through the quiet study. As Douglas Heyman delivers a crucial message to Ian, revealing the ivory tower has sent for him. With a subtle shift in his demeanor, Ian turns to receive the letter. He takes the official correspondence into his hands. The elegant script addressing him directly, "Dear Magician Ian Page." The letter explains the ivory tower's desire for his presence at the Academy for Gifted Magicians. Acknowledging the difficulty of tracking such a talented individual among mere beginners. A faint, knowing smile playing on his lips as he absorbs the words. The request is a clear invitation to join their prestigious name list. But Douglas then drops the bombshell, "You have a week." Ian's eyes widen in disbelief, "A week?" Yet, his confidence quickly returns, assuring Douglas that 1 week is no problem at all. But the immediate realization hits him, this means sacrificing his precious sleep. Oh, the horror. After accepting the Ivory Tower's prestigious invitation, Ian Page finds himself lost in thought, the weight of his decision settling upon him as he contemplates the path ahead. The journey continues, a grand carriage making its way through lush, sun-drenched landscapes. As a potent elixir, missing its stone heart component, caused his own heart to beat faster and faster, its effects lasting for 2 intense hours. He clutched the potion, feeling the surge of power coursing through him. Finally, a magnificent tower rose into view, its architecture hinting at a place of truly decent quality, a beacon in the distance. The journey continued, the anticipation building with every passing moment, drawing him closer to his destination. Until the towering structure dominated the horizon, its intricate details becoming clearer. Finally, the carriage pulled up to a magnificent building, its grand entrance awaiting his arrival, a testament to the quality of this place. Where Green River stood ready to greet him, a polite smile gracing his lips as he announced, "You're here, Sir Ian Page." Stepping into the magnificent ivory tower, Ian Page is greeted by Green River, who extends a formal welcome to the legendary institution. With a polite smile, Green River offers to guide him, declaring his intention to lead Ian directly to the tower's owner. The interior of the tower is a breathtaking sight, with grand arches and an enormous, intricate chandelier dominating the vast space. As they begin their journey through the opulent halls, Ian admits that this is his first time witnessing the legendary Tower of Magicians, a place that seems to transcend the very flow of time. Indeed, the tower's architecture and ambience suggest a timeless quality, as if it has remained unchanged through countless eras. Green River confirms this sentiment, explaining that the tower's essence remains constant, whether in the past or the future. As they continue deeper into the structure, the sheer scale of the ivory tower becomes even more apparent, its grandeur stretching endlessly before them. Green River then draws Ian's attention to a peculiar feature, a large, ornate golden plate embedded in the floor. He explains that this isn't just decoration, it's a crucial device that allows movement between the tower's many floors, a magical elevator designed to transport its occupants with ease. This magical golden plate serves as the primary means of vertical travel, allowing direct access to any floor within the colossal structure. As the golden plate before him shimmered with an ethereal glow, Green River's voice cut through the silence, inviting him to step aboard, explaining that the highest floor, the domain of the ivory tower's owner, awaited them. He urged the young mage to join him, promising a journey to the very pinnacle of this timeless structure. Without hesitation, Ian stepped onto the glowing platform, a vibrant blue magic circle instantly flaring to life beneath his feet. With a sudden surge of power, the entire structure began its rapid ascent, streaks of light blurring past as they shot upwards through the tower's core. The sensation of acceleration was profound, as Ian was whisked away, the tower's immense height conquered in mere moments. During the swift journey, he held a small, glowing orb in his hand, its soft light a stark contrast to the dazzling speed of their magical transport. The ascent continued, the magical energy surrounding them a vibrant blue, enveloping him in a cocoon of pure arcane power. His gaze lifted, a hint of awe and anticipation in his eyes, as the destination drew ever closer. Finally, the elevator halted before a set of colossal, intricately carved doors, their ancient grandeur hinting at the power and mystery held within. With a slow, deliberate creak, the massive portals began to part, revealing a blinding light that promised an even greater spectacle beyond. Green River, now standing beside the newly opened entrance, offered a warm smile, his voice resonating with genuine welcome as he addressed the young mage by name. The guide's gratitude was palpable, thanking him for accepting the invitation to this legendary tower, a new chapter about to unfold. As the grand doors opened, he found himself facing an unexpected challenge, requirement that seemed to catch him off guard, prompting a sharp, almost pained sound from him. Yet, the man before him, Green River, calmly assured him there was no need to be scared, despite the palpable tension in the air. This wasn't just a casual meeting, it was a mandatory trial, a little requirement every magician joining the ivory tower had to endure. Seated in a plush chair, Ian could feel the weight of the situation, judging by the atmosphere, it looked like they were about to put him through his paces. He voiced his understanding, stating his belief that they simply wanted to make sure he was truly worthy of joining them. Green River, however, was not easily swayed, acknowledging Ian's talents but confessing his suspicion due to the young man's age. He then challenged the very notion of Ian's reputation, questioning if they were truly speaking of the same Ian who had accomplished more than any other bloodline. Ian listened, his gaze lowered, a silent resolve forming within him. If it was suspicion, he would ensure it wouldn't hinder him now. Looking up, his eyes sharp, he directly confronted Green River, asking if he truly didn't trust him. Green River's expression hardened, demanding to know how Ian could possibly ask such a thing, emphasizing that barbaric actions had no place within the sacred tower. With a glint in his eye and a subtle gesture of his hand, Ian calmly retorted that he was merely doing what he was asked, and that Green River had asked him to answer. Rising to his feet, a new confidence radiating from him, Ian declared, "Now, then," signaling a shift in the power dynamic of their exchange. As the intense interrogation continues, a voice presses on, revealing the harsh truths of his past, nothing born in red soil. Your father was a barbarian. And your mother, she was a slave. Green River, his gaze unwavering, challenges the very foundation of Ian's identity, demanding to know, is any of this information false? But the man known as Douglas Heyman, or Reed, interjects, his expression serious, I wish to know the truth of your relation with the rest of the world, Reed. He continues, revealing a dark chapter from his own past, I was an alchemist who was involved with a slave trading ring. And the Lord Commander ordered him to me. Green River, still probing, then questions the very institution they represent, the old ivory tower. Douglas Heyman, his gaze distant, admits, I always wanted to go. Green River then shifts the focus, asking, remember, Cecilia? Douglas Heyman confirms, of course, before continuing his intense questioning of Ian, you saw her and became a magician communicating. My crystal was just counted as a tool to kill you. Do you swear that none of this is false? Ian, meeting his gaze with unwavering resolve, simply states, I swear. Douglas Heyman then presses further, his voice laced with a final challenge, do you swear that you'll use magic? Ian, now fully engaged, counters with a question of his own, referencing the very spells Douglas Heyman just listed, Fireball, Spirit Summoning, and Frost Nova, do you know how to use it? Douglas Heyman, with a confident smirk, replies, I am a magician. Ian, mirroring his confidence, echoes, I am a magician. As the tension in the chamber mounted, a challenging voice cut through the silence, demanding to know if he truly intended to claim he couldn't perform the task. A faint smirk played on Ian's lips as he met the gaze, a quiet admission escaping him that he had merely conceived of them. Douglas Heyman, still skeptical, leaned forward, prompting him for an example. Without a word, a small, vibrant orb of fire began to coalesce in the young magician's outstretched palm, its flickering light illuminating the chamber. He held the fiery sphere aloft, his voice calm and assured, explaining that he had simply imagined it, and one day, that imagination had become a tangible reality. A low murmur rippled through the observers as Douglas Heyman's eyes widened in surprise, while Green River watched with a mixture of awe and curiosity. The murmuring continued, a testament to the unexpected display, as the sheer power emanating from the young man defied conventional understanding, even challenging the Empire's own magical detection systems. Douglas Heyman's expression shifted from skepticism to a dawning realization, the truth of the boy's words now undeniable. As Ian's eyes glowed with an ethereal blue light, a silent question formed in Douglas Heyman's mind, could this truly be the legendary 8th-class magician, or was the title merely an exaggeration? The young mage remained composed, the small fireball still dancing in his hand, a silent challenge to their preconceived notions. Douglas Heyman looked down, his brow furrowed in deep thought, struggling to comprehend how such a young individual could possess such an immense amount of mana. His gaze snapped back up, eyes wide with a sudden, profound realization, the implications of Ian's power beginning to sink in. A woman with fiery red hair strides purposefully through an opulent hall, her impatience palpable with every step. She turns sharply to an unseen figure, her voice laced with frustration, demanding to know why they keep asking such useless questions. Another voice attempts to interject, urging her to calm down, but Helene cuts them off, insisting they stop wasting time and get to the real question. Just then, the young man steps forward, his gaze steady, reminding everyone that the owner of the house is present, and they are all here to address him. He turns his back to the viewer, facing Helene directly, his voice resonating with a quiet authority as he asks, "What are you?" A tense silence hangs in the air as a woman's voice cuts through it, demanding, "Tell us yourself with that mouth. What are you?" Her piercing gaze fixed on the young man seated before her, the red-haired woman awaited his response. He, however, seemed utterly unimpressed, retorting with a dismissive tone, "Why are you scouting out nothing but nonsense?" Helene, the Lady of Fire, was not one to be dismissed so easily, her voice carrying the weight of her past as she reminded him, yes, she was the youngest 4th-class magician before I came. Her reputation preceded her, a force to be reckoned with, for she was indeed the youngest 4th-class magician before his arrival, and her nickname, the Lady of Fire, was no mere title, but a testament to her aggressive nature. Her expression remained unwavering, a silent challenge in her eyes, as she waited for his comprehension. But the young man, still dismissive, simply retorted, "Don't you already know?" A flicker of surprise crossed Helene's face, her brow furrowing slightly as she questioned, "What?" She then gestured towards a document, her voice laced with incredulity as she pointed out, "It's even written over there." Her frustration mounting, she directly challenged Ian Page, her voice rising in disbelief, "And Ian Page, how dare you not know about it?" The accusation clearly struck a nerve, as his hand clenched into a tight fist, the sound of his knuckles cracking echoing the tension in the room. Helene's fury erupts, her voice sharp with indignation. Suddenly, a commanding voice cuts through the tension, silencing her outburst as the Emperor sits regally on his throne, a subtle blue aura emanating from the floor around the standing figure. Despite the interruption, Helene stands her ground, her expression unwavering. Ian Page then addresses her directly, posing one final, loaded question. The Emperor watches the exchange, his gaze stern and unyielding. As Helene's past is brought up, Ian's mind drifts back to a memory, recalling the first time he encountered her, kneeling in disgrace. He remembers the soldier who dared disrespect the Emperor's mother, and the subsequent shame that fell upon her. The image of a disgraced figure, kneeling in darkness, flashes through his thoughts. A chilling memory surfaces of the soldier, found later, reportedly begging for his life like a madman. The Emperor's voice echoes in his mind, questioning his involvement in that soldier's demise. Ian recalls how the former Emperor, surprisingly, did not punish the man, but rather. A younger version of himself sits alone, a somber expression on his face, lost in thought. He recalls a profound lesson, a philosophy that shaped his very approach to magic and life itself. Even without overconfidence in his own formidable magic, he always considered a third possibility, a contingency for every scenario. Especially in situations where his very freedom hung in the balance, he would always seek out that extra layer of protection, that unforeseen path. A memory surfaces of a younger self, seated on a grand throne-like chair, reflecting on the profound truth that if his heart wasn't calm, he couldn't even move his fingertips. The thought echoes, a chilling reminder of a past conversation, since he had said that during their last meeting. His golden eyes narrow, a flicker of concern crossing his face as he wonders about the medicine's effects now. A voice from the past cuts through his thoughts, promising, "I'll tell you the answer you want to hear." The flashback deepens, revealing a young Ian, still a child, sitting alone in a vast, ornate room, his small figure dwarfed by the imposing furniture, a picture of quiet contemplation. The scene shifts to a tense gathering, Helene standing with a group of stern-faced men, while Ian watches, a silent observer to a dramatic revelation, the air thick with unspoken accusations. The tension escalates, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone present, as the truth, or perhaps a carefully crafted deception, begins to unravel. A single, incredulous thought pierces the silence, a lie. The opulent chamber stands silent, awaiting a crucial revelation. An elder, his gaze piercing, dismisses any connection, stating, "You have no relation to it." Ian, his expression unreadable, absorbs the words. The elder continues, acknowledging Ian's candor, "Thank you for your honest answer to the hard question." Then, a shocking admission, "Oh, when I said that the small trickle of mana enters your body, that was all made up." He clarifies, "I used a lie to get you to open up and get you to say something. I did not mean to deceive you." This deception was to gauge Ian's understanding of a mysterious power, one with no information surrounding it. Therefore, the elder concludes, they must proceed with greater consideration. The discussion then shifts, focusing on Ian's current limitations and the vast potential for his growth. A new object enters the conversation, a device before them, identified as a mana battery. This intricate contraption, he explains, serves to recharge the component that stores mana. And at this very moment, the sheer volume of mana contained within it causes its color to shift to a vibrant blue. Ian Page, facing a critical test, is instructed to pour his mana into the mysterious battery, a direct challenge to his hidden power. The elder, Rua, watches intently, his words a veiled command, "To see your limit." As Ian channels his energy, the mana battery begins to fill, its internal gauge quickly rising, reaching the capacity of a third-class mage. But the true challenge lies in the expectation, to match the output of a second-class master. Ian, deep in thought, knows his next move must be precise, a calculated decision to navigate this dangerous game. He strategizes, realizing that by meeting their expectations, he can minimize suspicion and secure a favorable placement in a decent class. But a deeper question gnaws at him, a silent why echoing in his mind. He remembers his past life, not as a hero or a leader, but merely an 8th-class mage, a man who lived a calculated existence. As the mana battery glows with an intense blue, reflecting his immense power, Ian acknowledges his past, a life of careful calculation. With both hands gripping the now fully charged, glowing orb, he resolves to cast aside everything else for his new path. A vision of his future self, clad in battle attire and wielding a sword, flashes before him, a symbol of the power, authority, and glory he now seeks. This new path demands ultimate sacrifice, a willingness to abandon everything he once held dear. As for magic, Ian Page knew his power was on a different level. He channeled his mana, his eyes blazing with an electric blue glow, declaring internally, "I don't know about other magic, but as for my magic, no one is above me." His conviction echoed through the chamber, a silent testament to the raw, untamed power he possessed. The mana battery, unable to contain the surging energy, began to pulse with an intense, blinding blue light, its surface shimmering under the strain. Ripples of pure magical force emanated from the overloaded device, threatening to tear itself apart. With a series of sharp, violent cracks, the battery's crystalline structure began to fracture, blue energy bursting from the fissures. Finally, with a deafening explosion, the mana battery disintegrated into countless shards of brilliant blue light, scattering across the room. Roi, witnessing the sheer destructive force, gasped in utter disbelief, a low, drawn-out sound of astonishment escaping his lips as the energy washed over them. The brilliant blue energy slowly faded, leaving behind only the empty pedestal where the battery once stood. A moment of stunned silence hung in the air, the echoes of the explosion still reverberating. Ian, hunched over and panting heavily, struggled to regain his breath, the immense mana expenditure taking its toll. His chest heaved with each ragged breath, a clear sign of the raw power he had just unleashed. As the dust settled from Ian's explosive display, Roi stood in stunned silence, his mind reeling from the sheer, unadulterated power he had just witnessed. The implications of such raw strength were clear, even to the older, gray-haired man beside him, who could only stare in disbelief at the shattered remnants of the mana battery. Meanwhile, Helene, her eyes wide with shock, struggled to comprehend what she had just witnessed, muttering to herself about the impossibility of it all. The mana battery, designed to withstand the output of a third-class master, had been utterly annihilated by Ian's overwhelming force. The realization dawned on her, a chilling truth that defied all logic: the young magician's power far surpassed anything she had ever imagined. Her voice barely a whisper, she questioned the impossible: could this kid truly be stronger than a third-class master? Unaware of the profound impact he had just made, Ian simply walked away, his skills temporarily disabled and reset from the immense strain of his power, leaving behind a trail of awe and disbelief. A heavy fist slams down on the table, the impact echoing the speaker's frustration as the conversation turns to Ian Page, confirming that all the rumors surrounding the young magician were indeed true. Green River, his expression grim, adds that he is also a fourth-class magician, a revelation that hangs heavy in the air. The blond man with golden eyes, his gaze distant, recalls Ian's reaction to the Emperor's death, describing it as the clear response of someone who had truly lived through profound experiences. Green River leans forward, demanding clarification, wanting to know exactly what the blond man means by such a cryptic statement. With another forceful gesture, the blond man insists they must put a leash on Ian Page before he becomes an even more dangerous threat to their interests. Green River continues to lay out the facts, detailing how Ian entered and graduated from the academy within an astonishing 5 years of service. Margaret, her gaze sharp, reminds them of their prior agreement to side with the Emperor and take him into custody, implying a betrayal of that pact. Douglas Heyman, offering a different perspective, suggests that Ian Page spending time at the academy would certainly not be a waste of time, hinting at the value of his presence there. Green River counters, expressing concern that Ian served as a role model to other students, and with all high-class magicians already possessing such immense strength, he questions how the nobles and young magicians would react to this unprecedented situation. Douglas concludes, emphasizing that regardless of whether Ian Page saved a soldier or prevented a death, his actions carry significant weight and consequences. A blonde-haired noble, his red eyes narrowed in contemplation, dismisses the gravity of the situation, declaring it no real issue. Yet, the murmurs around the opulent chamber suggest a deeper concern, as others voice their apprehension, noting that the individual in question has already begun to disrupt the established order, leaving them uncertain of his true allegiance. The blonde noble, however, maintains his stance, insisting that despite his formidable abilities, the individual is still merely a youth, and the Empire's stability must remain their paramount concern. From across the table, a hooded figure with piercing, glowing red eyes interjects, a chilling voice reminding them that immense power demands an equally immense sense of responsibility. As if to punctuate the point, a pale hand emerges from beneath the hood, cradling a golden orb that pulses with raw, untamed energy, a silent testament to the rumors now confirmed: the individual has indeed graduated from the tower with astonishing speed, already achieving the rank of a fourth-class magician, making him exceptionally dangerous. The blonde noble, however, counters, arguing that despite his talent and youth, it would be unwise to grant him special tutelage from a high-class magician, a sentiment that quickly garners agreement from the other attendees. Around the grand table, the assembled nobles murmur in agreement, their collective decision solidifying as one voice declares the outcome expected, indeed. The blonde noble, satisfied with the outcome, simply utters a decisive "good." A dismissive "psh" escapes from the hooded figure, as a pale hand, adorned with a ring, makes a subtle gesture, perhaps indicating a deeper, unspoken plan now set in motion. A grand, ornate building stands as a testament to ancient power, its very stones whispering of the magic contained within, and it's here that a young prodigy's reputation begins to spread. He muses to himself, how incredible it is to be recognized as a high-class magician at such a tender age, a thought that fills him with a quiet sense of pride. Later, walking through the opulent halls alongside an older woman, he greets her with a polite, "Oh, we meet again." The woman, her expression gentle, responds, well. I heard the news. A slight smile plays on his lips as he confirms that you're a high-class magician. Yeah. That's what happened. Meanwhile, a young girl with glasses, overhearing the conversation, gasps in utter astonishment, amazing. A high-class magician at the age of 12. Her mind races, processing the incredible news, wondering, that terrifying rumor was true. What kind of rumor is going around? The older woman, perhaps sensing the girl's presence or simply continuing the conversation, adds, you've probably already heard the news. The young magician, with a knowing look, replies, you can dream more comfortably. You're my senior. The girl with glasses, still reeling from the revelation, lets out a surprised, almost delighted sound, her eyes wide with awe at the mention of senior. Whispers follow the young prodigy, a girl with spectacles marveling at the rumors, Ian Page, a genius magician with a special ability, destined for the ivory tower. He simply confirms the buzz, acknowledging the truth of the whispers. Within the hallowed halls of the Magic Academy, the young man stands among his peers, the elite-class magicians of their generation. Meanwhile, the bespectacled girl can barely contain her excitement, exclaiming that the rumors are beyond mere talk, almost driving her mad, a sentiment she attributes to someone named Herbert. The young magician gazes out a window, his thoughts drifting to his academy friends, a poignant memory. He stands silently among them, a quiet observer in a moment that would soon be lost to tragedy. A different girl, with striking purple hair, reflects with a hint of sadness, recalling a time when she, too, stood in a similar place. The dark-haired girl walks away from the group, unaware of the grim fate that awaited them all, as a cultist group would assassinate them in the coming months. Under a melancholic, orange sky, a blonde woman stands alone in a graveyard, a silent testament to loss. The young Ian Page, now older and burdened by memory, contemplates a desperate hope. If he could only go back and change the past, he believes he would be able to. The bespectacled girl, perhaps sensing his deep resolve, retorts that such a notion is merely his personal opinion, her expression a mix of surprise and skepticism. A familiar voice echoes through the academy halls, announcing, I heard you'll be using it for your personal magic cleaning magic. The words hang in the air as the camera pans to reveal a grand, empty chamber, prompting a quiet, almost reverent thought, this is. The spacious room, filled with the ghosts of past magical endeavors, stretches out before him, a place of immense power and potential. A younger version of Ian Page gazes upon it, a profound realization dawning as he remembers, this was my room in my past life too. Cecilia, ever the diligent scholar, explains the room's purpose, adding that whenever she creates too much magic, Green River uses his second-class magic to clean it. She continues, her voice firm but kind, the owner wants you to use this room for your personal use. With a nod of understanding from Green River, Cecilia instructs him, then, please wait here. I'll go get the magician who's in charge of you. The heavy door clicks shut with a resonant thud, leaving Ian alone in the vast chamber. He stands in the center of the room, a thoughtful expression on his young face, taking in every detail of the familiar yet altered space. His hand reaches out, tracing the surface of a desk, a wistful smile playing on his lips as he muses, it's been a while. The young mage surveys his surroundings, the magical energy of the room swirling around him, a silent promise of power and destiny. This moment, this room, holds a profound significance, for he realizes, I got this room 7 years earlier than I did in the past. Now that I obtained with the authority of a high-class magician now within his grasp, Ian Page knows there's only one crucial thing he needs to do next. He strides with purpose, determined to forge a new contract within the formidable host tower. The grand, sunlit halls of the academy stretch before him, leading him to his destination. Arriving at a pristine desk, he prepares to enact his plan. He reflects on the Emperor's trust, a trust so profound it made him the head of the magic tower, a loyalty he knows he can always count on. Yet, his thoughts drift to Herbert, wondering who will ultimately fall under his protection. A dark, swirling energy seems to emanate from his memories, as he grapples with the unsettling possibility that Herbert might be directly responsible for past tragedies. The sheer, overwhelming force of high-class magic pulses around him, a testament to the power he seeks. His hand reaches out, drawn to the glowing essence of power, knowing that merely achieving the same class won't be enough, he must ascend to an even higher class than his rival. With unwavering resolve, he gazes at the towering structure, vowing to defeat his adversary for good. He acknowledges the need to play the part of a well-behaved child for now, realizing that even he cannot surpass a fifth-class magician with his current, small body. A quiet sigh escapes him, a testament to the patience required for his grand ambition. Still reeling from his recent revelations, he is suddenly startled by an unseen presence, a sharp thump echoing through the air. A questioning, almost hesitant, hello, escapes his lips, followed by an internal uncertainty as he tries to discern the situation. A look of profound surprise then crosses his face, as if the identity of the newcomer has just clicked into place. Indeed, the thought echoes, they had to send her, confirming the significance of this unexpected arrival. And through an ornate doorway, Helene steps into view, her voice coolly stating, it's been a while, as she makes her entrance. A subtle, knowing smirk plays on her lips, hinting at a deeper, perhaps troubled, history between them. Before she delivers a cutting, disdainful remark, "You arrogant brat," her words dripping with contempt. A woman with fiery red hair, Helene, greets someone with a knowing smirk, remarking that it's been a while since she last saw her assistant. Her words are met with a somewhat displeased expression from Ian Page, who responds, "Helene, so they had to send him." He lets out a sharp, exasperated sound, a clear sign of his annoyance. Helene, her expression unwavering, continues to press him, accusing him of being the one who cleaned up her battery, while he looks away, a hint of defensiveness in his posture. Her gaze intensifies, her words cutting deep as she observes, "I see that you're even more arrogant." Ian, now looking towards a nearby door, seems to concede, though with a clear lack of enthusiasm, muttering, "Well, fine." He then launches into a dismissive list of what he considers trivial academic requirements, standard manners, history, magic theory. All the stuff that you should learn from the academy. Still looking away, he bluntly states his core issue, "But the thing is, I don't want to learn the theory." His words trail off, leaving an unspoken sentiment hanging in the air, but the Helene, her sharp gaze fixed on him, delivers a final, pointed question that cuts to the core of his attitude, "What use is a magician like you anyway?" As if to punctuate her disdain for conventional learning, a stack of heavy tomes tumbles to the ground, scattering their pages with a resounding crash. Helene, holding one of the offending texts, declares with a dismissive wave, that such boring crap is not her forte, and the only thing she can teach him is this. Her words hang in the air, a silent challenge that Ian Page seems to acknowledge, the implication being that he has already defeated her in this intellectual sparring match, or perhaps, simply proven her point. Turning to face him directly, her expression a mix of disappointment and exasperation, Helene confesses she had held high expectations for him, but finds him quite naive and a total airhead. She continues, her voice laced with a hint of regret, that if he had simply kept his mouth shut, he would have earned her recognition. Yet, a flicker of something else crosses her features, her eye narrowing as she begins to concede, "But, you were able to." Ian Page listens intently, his gaze unwavering as he processes her complex assessment, a silent acknowledgement of the truth in her words. With a sudden shift in demeanor, Helene's stern expression softens slightly, a subtle tremor passing through her as she declares, "Well, since I came as your teacher, let me teach you something." Behind her, a fiery, chaotic landscape erupts, mirroring the intensity of her next statement as she imparts a crucial lesson: there are many kinds of magicians. A magician who fights for combat. While some magicians dedicate their lives to the quiet study of ancient texts, believing their power lies solely in knowledge. Others, like the cloaked figures in the shadows, simply grow stronger through sheer force of will and combat, leaving those who only study far behind. Helene challenges, her gaze piercing, demanding to know how he perceives her own path. Without hesitation, Ian Page responds, identifying her as one who dedicates her life to study. A subtle shift in her posture, a confident sway, betrays her amusement at his misjudgment. She corrects him, her voice firm with conviction, declaring that she finds no one else capable in her unique field, setting herself apart as the sole high-class magician. Turning on her heel, she begins to walk away, her words echoing with a promise to teach him in her own, unconventional manner. With a simple command, she bids him follow, her stride purposeful. Ian Page, understanding the weight of her words, acknowledges his lack of choice in the matter. Under the vast, open sky, they journey to a new destination. Arriving at a grand, sun-drenched courtyard, Helene immediately challenges him, her question hanging in the air: does he grasp the task before him? Her eyes gleaming with anticipation, she issues a direct challenge, daring him to come at her and prove himself worthy of her unique tutelage. Even in his past life, Ian Page found himself constantly challenged by Helene, her presence always pushing him to his limits. He recalls how even then, she would annoy him with her relentless challenges, a pattern that now repeats itself. But this time, things are different, he hasn't lost his memories, and he's ready to face her head-on. He's determined to cut her off, to change the outcome of their destined rivalry. Back in the present, Helene gestures towards Ian, correcting herself as she refers to him, while a concerned observer wonders if it's truly safe for him to fight her. Helene, however, dismisses their worries with a confident smirk, assuring them that she has prepared them to be decent spectators. She then turns to Ian, asking if they should get going, to which he replies, "You go first," prompting her to declare she'll wait as his teacher. Ian looks at her, a hint of skepticism in his expression, asking if she's truly sure about her approach. Helene simply walks away, her confidence unwavering, muttering about who should be worried for whom. With a decisive gesture of her hand, she signals the start of their training. Ian, extending his arm in acceptance, declares that he won't refuse her challenge. He closes his eyes, taking a deep breath, mentally preparing himself for the intense magical instruction to come. Helene, with a knowing smirk, questions if he's truly seen enough, offering a sarcastic head start to the challenge she's about to unleash. Her expression sharpens, a fiery glint in her eyes as she dismisses his previous life's experience with a cutting remark, before announcing her true intentions. With a surge of raw power, she declares her intent to truly show him what she's capable of, twin suns of pure energy manifesting around her. Her form becomes a beacon of scorching light, engulfed in a vibrant, orange aura that pulses with immense magical force. Ian's eyes snap open, glowing with an intense, electric blue, his own mana reacting instinctively to the overwhelming display, as the air around him crackles. Suddenly, with a powerful burst, a massive, ice block erupts into existence, its crystalline structure shimmering with frigid power. In a flash, Ian is completely encased, trapped within the impenetrable prison of ice, his silhouette barely visible through the frozen barrier, while Helene calmly observes. Her gaze steady on the newly formed ice block, she watches the immediate outcome of her spell. A wry smile plays on her lips as she taunts him, wondering if he's already given up, if his challenge has reached its swift conclusion. She then reveals the next phase of his trial, instructing him to find a way to shatter the very ice that holds him captive. This ice block isn't just any spell, it's a legendary defensive magic, renowned for its absolute protection, offering unparalleled protection. But there's a catch: while active, the user is rendered unconscious, unable to cast any other spells, making it a double-edged sword of immense power and vulnerability. Helene, her hand crackling with arcane energy, delivers one final, chilling warning, emphasizing that this is the last chance. A deep, resonant hum of power vibrates around her, her expression a mask of fierce determination. Behind her, the onlookers, Rua and Margaret, recoil, a collective gasp escaping their lips as the raw magic intensifies. Rua, visibly shaken, wonders aloud about the source of the escalating, ominous sound. Helene stands before the colossal, jagged ice block, her hand still pulsing with the residual blue glow of her formidable spell. But then, her eyes snap wide, a silent, incredulous, "No way," echoing her utter shock. For within the supposedly impenetrable ice, Ian Page, his gaze burning with fierce resolve, begins to stir, defying all magical logic and leaving Helene utterly dumbfounded. The very air seems to question the impossible: how can he possibly move inside the ice block? With a subtle shift, Ian's feet push forward, a faint tremor rippling through the frozen prison. Then, with a sharp, violent crack, the ice block begins to shatter, fissures spreading rapidly across its crystalline surface. Ian's form is silhouetted against the fracturing ice, the sheer force of his will threatening to tear it apart. Helene's face twists in a mixture of disbelief and exasperation, a frustrated expletive escaping her lips. A grand, ornate structure stands majestically against the sky, its intricate spires reaching towards the heavens. Before the scene violently shifts to Helene, who is suddenly hurled through the air by an unseen force, her body twisting amidst a blur of motion and impact. The impact continues to propel her, a desperate cry escaping her lips as she struggles against the invisible assault, her form a streak against the chaotic backdrop. Until she violently collides with a massive, fiery explosion, engulfing her in a burst of searing energy and smoke. Despite the brutal assault, Helene manages to push through the pain, a defiant grunt escaping her as she braces herself, her expression etched with fierce determination. Meanwhile, in a starkly different, blue-hued space, Ian Page stands, his gaze distant as he recalls a name, a whisper of Akira, hanging in the air. He continues to ponder, the name echoing in his mind as he grapples with its significance, a faint blue glow emanating from his form. Back in the fiery chaos, Helene stares down at a glowing magical circle, her mind racing with disbelief, utterly baffled by how her opponent managed such a feat. The sheer impossibility of the situation weighs heavily on her, as she struggles to comprehend not only the movement, but also the sheer power behind the attack. Before she can fully process her thoughts, another unseen force slams into her, sending her reeling once more with a violent impact. Helene's eyes widen in utter shock and alarm, the relentless assault leaving her stunned and vulnerable. Helene cries out, the magical vines tightening their grip around her, a brutal continuation of the unseen assault. The verdant tendrils constrict around her neck, her face contorting in a desperate struggle against the suffocating magic. Meanwhile, Ian Page stands impassively above her, his presence radiating an almost overwhelming magical aura as he observes her plight. Even in her predicament, Helene can't help but acknowledge his power, muttering that he truly lives up to his reputation as the Empire's strongest mage. A faint blue glow emanates from his hand, a silent declaration that this skirmish is already decided. Helene remains trapped, her surprise evident as she struggles against the magical bonds. With a dismissive tone, Ian Page addresses her, telling the little kid to get her dirty vines off him now. Helene hesitates, a flicker of defiance in her eyes, unwilling to let things end so embarrassingly. She challenges him further, demanding to know his true identity, sensing there's more to him than meets the eye. Ignoring her plea, Ian Page raises his hand, a powerful blue aura flaring around it as he prepares to unleash his magic. With a sharp crackle, a burst of golden particles erupts from his palm, instantly shattering the binding vines. The magical energy swirls and dissipates, leaving Helene free but stunned by the sheer force of his power. Still reeling from the impossible display of power, she cries out, barely able to process the identity of the young man before her, questioning if this kid could truly be the legendary mage. As the ash-blonde mage kneels within a crackling blue magic circle, she gasps his name, the realization hitting her with the force of a thunderclap, while golden lightning erupts around him. With his hand now glowing with an ominous blue energy, she desperately challenges the very nature of their confrontation, insisting this was meant to be a duel, not a massacre. But the sheer, unbridled power emanating from him leaves her face contorted in pure terror, a silent scream trapped in her throat as the true scale of his abilities becomes horrifyingly clear. His eyes now blazing with an electric blue light, Ian's voice cuts through the air, a calm yet absolute command for her to cease her futile resistance. Then, with a blinding flash and a deafening crackle, he unleashes a torrent of raw, golden lightning, engulfing himself in a storm of pure magical energy. As the chaotic energy swirls around him, he rises, the blue particles of his magic dissipating into the air, leaving him standing amidst the lingering electrical discharges. His gaze, now a piercing blue amidst the golden lightning, holds an intensity that promises absolute, unyielding power. The very air crackles and distorts, as the raw, untamed lightning magic continues to surge, a testament to his overwhelming might. Then, a sudden, stark silence descends, a momentary void after the explosive display. Yet, the spectacle has not gone unnoticed, as a small group of figures watches from a distance, their presence hinting at further complications. The very earth shatters and groans, as reality itself seems to rip open from the sheer, raw power unleashed. Helene can only gape, watching as the young mage, Ian Page, slowly ascends from the devastation. A single, desperate question screaming in her mind, how was she still alive? A wild, almost broken laugh tears from her throat, punctuated by the ominous thud of his advancing footsteps. Stay back, she screams, flinching violently as he reaches out, his presence utterly overwhelming. He stops, his voice a chilling calm, Lady Helene. With an unyielding grasp, he seizes her face, his piercing gaze locking onto hers as he challenges, is there anything else you wish to say? His eyes blaze with an unholy, electric blue, a terrifying manifestation of the magic coursing through him. Then, an explosive impact rips through her, sending her flying, utterly helpless, crashing to the earth. Without a backward glance at her crumpled figure, Ian Page delivers his final, chilling words, then I'll take my leave for now. A memory surfaces, taking us back to a younger Ian Page and Helene, standing together as another man approaches them with an air of authority. The man's tone is dismissive, demanding to know why he's even being asked, a subtle tremor of frustration passing through the young boy. He brazenly tells the young Ian to get out of his way, but the boy, despite his youth, attempts to assert himself, though his words trail off. With a casual stride, the man walks away, leaving the young Ian and Helene behind, the memory fading as quickly as it appeared. Back in the present, a grand tower stands sentinel against the vibrant sunset, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Ian's thoughts drift to Helene, a question forming in his mind about her current state after their last encounter. He stands before an older, bearded man, listening intently to the report. The man confirms Helene's dire condition, revealing she's been refusing food for days, a consequence of her recent ordeal. A pained expression crosses Ian's face as he reflects on his actions, acknowledging that her greed led her to him, and her suffering is a direct result, yet he made no effort to save her. Turning away from the older man, he walks, a profound realization settling within him, he never truly believed he could achieve his revenge with his own hands. His thoughts shift to the very essence of power, visualizing it as a chained wolf, a force so immense that no one could truly control it, not even its wielder. It remains untamed, a wild, primal entity. Deep in thought, his gaze distant, he contemplates a crucial meeting and the acquisition of a powerful new asset. Suddenly, a soft click echoes through the chamber, signaling an arrival. Turning from his thoughts, a book still in hand, he inquires about the newcomer's presence. An elderly advisor, staff in hand, bows deeply as he enters, apologizing for his tardiness. Addressing him as, my prince, the old man stands respectfully before the young royal. Now standing, a book still clutched in his hand, Ian's attention is fully on the advisor. The elder then makes a request, a favor he wishes to ask of his prince. His words lead to a specific topic, the enigmatic magician. Ian, arms crossed, stands in deep consideration, pondering the implications of the advisor's words. A grand, imposing structure rises against the sky, its intricate architecture hinting at a place of profound learning and power. As two figures make their way across polished floors, their footsteps echoing with the weight of a momentous journey. A younger Ian Page looks up at Aaron, who asks, did I tell you already? With a gentle smile, Aaron confirms, yes, let's start heading out. Inside the opulent halls, he reiterates his purpose, Ian, I'm taking you to the academy. The young boy, filled with a mix of anticipation and determination, responds, I'll be back, Captain. Later, sitting alone, a pensive expression crosses Ian's face, his thoughts drifting to another's new beginning. He murmurs, today is already Douglas' first day of school. Yet, it was Ian himself who was accepted into the Royal Alchemist Academy at the absolute pinnacle of his cohort, his application instantly securing his place, leaving no doubt that his talent was nothing short of extraordinary. The one true disadvantage of the royal lineage, a rare condition, had always been a part of Ian's life. And because of that, he'd been able to live a relatively normal existence for a time, a quiet period now long past. But even in those days, he had been confronting monsters, a constant battle even in his youth. Now, a sigh escapes him, as he realizes that to truly reclaim his full power, he needs to be utterly alone. Yet, a flicker of doubt crosses his mind, wondering if he can truly afford to rest, even for a moment. His contemplation is abruptly broken by a sharp knock, pulling him back to the present. A maid stands at the door, addressing him with a respectful, "Sir Ian." She holds out a tray, announcing the arrival of an invitation directly from the palace. His eyes widen in surprise, the unexpected news leaving him momentarily speechless. A close-up reveals the intricate red wax seal, its design hinting at the sender's identity and the gravity of its contents. The First Prince, a title that once felt like a distant echo, now resonates with a new, unsettling weight. Under the silent gaze of the full moon, the night sky stretches, vast and indifferent, as if mirroring the immense journey ahead. Finally, the grand palace looms into view, its ancient stones bathed in the soft glow of countless lights, a beacon of power and intrigue. Stepping from the carriage, he can't help but wonder, if the First Prince truly understood the implications of inviting him to such a place, especially given the unspoken rule that mages not born of nobility were never to attend these gatherings. A flicker of doubt crosses his face, as he questions whether the prince even grasped the weight of his own actions. This invitation from the First Prince was truly unprecedented, not merely because he was a mage, but because he had always shunned the company of other nobles. As he walks through the palace grounds, the weight of his unique position settles upon him, a prince whose interest in the political realm was utterly non-existent. Indeed, his disinterest was so profound that he had always chased away any nobles who dared to interfere with his solitude, earning him a reputation as a troublesome, reclusive figure, the black sheep of the First Prince's family. He was a recluse, a prince who seemed to deliberately avoid the throne, despite his immense talent and intelligence, a mystery to all who knew him. His gaze, sharp and knowing, reflects the complex burden of his lineage and his chosen path. Still pondering the unexpected invitation, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Yet he acknowledged the potential benefits this unprecedented proactive move might bring him. After all, he'd always been a recluse, never truly connecting with others in his past life, leaving him to wonder what truly motivated this sudden outreach. As he stepped into the opulent hall, a distinguished officer, Oliver Ragwood, greeted him with a formal welcome, "Welcome, Ian Page." The palace itself was a spectacle, shimmering with golden light. Its grand chandeliers casting intricate patterns across the high ceilings. And a magnificent staircase sweeping upwards, hinting at the grandeur within. A gathering of nobles, including the elegant Harry and the striking Helene, murmured amongst themselves. Their anticipation palpable as they awaited the main event. Among them, Green River stood with a composed demeanor. Then, with a booming voice that echoed through the hall, he declared, "The First Prince will make his entrance." A collective gasp rippled through the assembled guests, their eyes fixed on the grand entrance. A rhythmic thud echoes across the polished floor. Leading the way through an opulent hall where rose petals are scattered, setting a scene of lavish expectation. High above the assembled guests, the emperor stands on a grand balcony, his presence commanding attention. His gaze, sharp and calculating, sweeps over the crowd, a silent prelude to his address. Then, with a voice that carries across the vast space, he addresses them, expressing his profound gratitude for their attendance at this momentous party. He reminds them of the highly anticipated arrival, the emperor's special guest, whose presence is about to grace their gathering. Declaring it would be rude to keep such an important individual waiting, he announces his intention to introduce someone truly special to them all today. A subtle, knowing smirk plays on his lips, hinting at the grand reveal to come. Among the captivated guests, Harry watches with bated breath, her expression a mix of anticipation and curiosity, understanding the gravity of the impending revelation. The special guest of the emperor is none other than. With a dramatic flourish, the emperor extends his hand, his voice booming as he proclaims his precious guest, the magician. The name echoes through the hall, a powerful declaration, Ian Page. The grand, ornate interior now awaits the protagonist's full entrance, the stage set for whatever comes next. With a flourish, Emperor Ragnar extends a grand welcome to Ian, his voice echoing through the opulent hall. But Ian, ever defiant, responds with a dismissive retort, making it crystal clear his return isn't for the emperor's sake. Internally, a frustrated curse escapes him, regretting the impulsive words that just slipped out. He can't help but muse that this entire elaborate welcome is a calculated maneuver, undoubtedly orchestrated by the emperor himself, not the prince. Unfazed, the emperor continues, acknowledging the recent stir Ian caused in the ivory tower. A hint of amusement in his tone, he expresses his thoughts on Ian's rapid ascent to a high-class mage, imagining the sheer frustration of the other guild masters. A subtle, almost imperceptible gesture of the emperor's hand underscores his words. He then reminisces about their first encounter in Moglian, recalling how Ian's unique presence made all other magicians seem utterly bereft. With a piercing gaze, the Emperor directly asks Ian if there's anything he wishes to convey. Ian, despite his deep-seated distrust for his rival, acknowledges the Emperor as a truly formidable mage. The intricate gold embroidery on the Emperor's regal attire shimmers, reflecting the grandeur of the hall. Yet, beneath his composed exterior, Ian harbors a chilling resolve, revealing his true, murderous intent towards someone specific. The Emperor, his regal presence commanding attention, gestures with an imperious hand, his voice cutting through the air with a direct order. Ian's eyes, now glowing with an intense blue, widen in a sudden, sharp realization, as the weight of the Emperor's words truly settles upon him. Amidst the bustling social gathering, a new figure approaches, his gaze fixed on the renowned magician, thinking, now, this man. A sudden exclamation escapes him, his eyes widening in awe. Stepping forward with a respectful bow, Harry Greenriver introduces himself, expressing his pleasure at finally meeting Ian. He continues, his voice filled with admiration, acknowledging the widespread fame of Ian's name and the many good things he's heard. Though he regrets only being able to offer greetings at this moment, Greenriver sincerely apologizes for his previous lack of knowledge about Sir Ian Page, the 8th-class magician. He assures Ian that he can share everything he knows, even the stories about the 8th-class magician that might bore him, adding that he has a strong heart and will work harder to ensure Ian is not bored. With a hopeful smile, Greenriver expresses his desire to exchange many words with Ian. He hopes their time together will be enjoyable and meaningful, thanking Ian for his generous proposal. A soft rustle of fabric accompanies his words, as Greenriver concludes his earnest address. Ian listens intently, his expression thoughtful as he processes Greenriver's words. A young woman, Lady Cecilia, stands with a gentle smile, receiving words of encouragement. Meanwhile, in a grand hall, Greenriver addresses a group of nobles, remarking on the first prince's leadership, as he seems to be handling the project quite well. Cecilia, however, contemplates her own role, deciding it might be best to withdraw before she inadvertently causes any trouble. Elsewhere, a sudden sound startles Ian Page, causing him to flinch. He turns, a look of surprise crossing his face, as he encounters someone unexpected. It's Oliver Ragwood, who greets him formally, acknowledging his presence. Oliver then addresses him directly, using his name. Ian, noticing Oliver's attire, compliments him, remarking on how splendid he looks in his formal clothes. Oliver, however, reveals the reason for his formal appearance, stating it was a direct order from His Highness. Ian listens intently, processing this information. Oliver then makes a subtle, almost playful remark, adding a touch of intrigue to their conversation. He stands before Greenriver, a casual remark escaping his lips about perhaps not needing to visit the terrace, but the other man's response is a simple, knowing hum. A rumor, he thinks, just a rumor, yet it holds a strange weight, and he can't shake the feeling that there's more to it than meets the eye. His mind drifts to Helene, the High Mage of the Ivory Tower, a figure shrouded in mystery, her face etched with a profound sadness. He remembers hearing about her, a woman of immense power and influence, her reputation preceding her. The prince's words echo in his mind, a chilling revelation about the Ivory Tower, and he realizes the true gravity of the situation. He had always believed that such critical information, especially concerning the Ivory Tower, would be kept under wraps, a closely guarded secret. Yet, here he is, privy to details that should be beyond his reach, a young man with knowledge far exceeding his years. He ponders the implications, the weight of this secret resting heavily upon him, wondering how such a thing could be. Helene, the High Mage, is clearly entangled in something far greater than herself, her fate intertwined with the tower's hidden truths. A flicker of surprise crosses his face as he processes the information, the sheer audacity of the situation catching him off guard. He recalls the words, "You even trusted Helene, who was called the High Mage of the Ivory Tower," a statement that now holds new meaning, and he realizes the depth of the deception. Greenriver, still standing opposite him, expresses his astonishment, admitting he had no idea about the true nature of the Ivory Tower's secrets, his voice tinged with disbelief. A stark question hangs in the air, demanding an answer: which side will you stand on? Under the vast, star-dusted expanse of the night sky, a loyal knight kneels before him, his posture unwavering as he awaits a response. The young mage, Ian Page, listens intently as the knight declares that his identity or how he achieved his 8th-class status at such a young age holds no bearing on the matter at hand. Instead, the knight's gaze pierces him, demanding to know if he will stand with the Ivory Tower. Ian Page finds the question meaningless, wondering aloud how anyone could give a proper answer in such a complex situation. But Greenriver, a knight sworn to his prince, insists on an answer, his loyalty absolute. He needs to know if Ian is a friend or a foe. This is Greenriver, one of the legendary Silver Knights, the loyal warrior who stood by the first prince until the very end. Still, Ian Page hesitates, admitting that he is not yet sure of his allegiance. Greenriver then offers a hint, suggesting he could provide some guidance to Sir Oliver, but with a crucial caveat. His advice is clear and direct: Ian should take the side of the fifth prince. With the weight of that counsel, Ian Page stands alone, the implications of the choice settling upon him. He listens intently, his expression unreadable, as the knight continues to speak. The knight, Green River, explains that he used magic to make his words unheard, but that wasn't enough, as he still has a request to make. Ian, ever the pragmatist, questions if this is a satisfactory proposal, prompting Green River to confirm his unwavering loyalty to the first prince. He then asks what kind of request the young mage means, his gaze sharp and assessing. Green River clarifies that his request is not for himself, but for the first prince, a matter of utmost importance. He explains that the first prince is currently in a precarious position, and he cannot simply abandon him. The knight then reveals his true intention. He wants Ian to take the first prince's place and protect him from the shadows. Ian, however, remains unconvinced, stating that he gains nothing from such a request, his expression reflecting his skepticism. Green River then produces a shimmering necklace, its intricate design catching the light as he holds it out. He explains that this isn't just any trinket, it was given to him by the queen herself on the day he was appointed as the first prince's bodyguard. With a solemn gesture, Green River kneels before Ian, offering the necklace as a symbol of his earnest plea. He declares the necklace to be a unique item, one of a kind, emphasizing its value and the gravity of his request. The weight of history hung heavy in the air, as Green River revealed a royal treasure, a relic he'd never even glimpsed in his past life. An empty frame, a void where its story should have been, underscored the mystery surrounding it. This wasn't just any trinket, it was a golden necklace, its blue gem shimmering with forgotten power, last held by the queen herself. And yet, its very existence was a secret, unrecorded even in the annals of the deceased queen's possessions. Green River's voice was earnest, explaining how the queen had entrusted it to him, a symbol of his loyalty, a plea for Ian not to dismiss his desperate request. Ian's gaze sharpened, his mind racing, weighing the implications of such a profound offer. Then, with a decisive motion, he reached out, his voice firm, declaring his acceptance. I will take the necklace. The unique artifact, a tangible link to royal secrets, now rested in his grasp. But before the gravity of the exchange could fully settle, a cataclysmic explosion erupted, a fiery blast tearing through the air. Both men recoiled, their faces etched with shock as the sudden, violent upheaval threatened to engulf them. A sudden, violent burst of red and orange energy rips through the air, a deafening quang echoing through the space. As a fiery explosion erupts behind Emperor Ragnar, causing him to recoil in shock, with Captain Ragwood standing close by. Both men are visibly stunned, their faces etched with alarm at the sudden, overwhelming force. The Emperor instinctively raises an arm, bracing against the intense heat and pressure of the continuing inferno. As Captain Ragwood's eye widens in sheer panic, his voice tearing through the chaos with a desperate cry, Your Highness. The Emperor's ornate uniform is caught in a dynamic swirl of energy, highlighting the sudden, violent shift in their reality. Another powerful quang reverberates, signaling a complete environmental shift. And Captain Ragwood, still reeling from the shock, urgently questions the Emperor's presence in this new, opulent setting. Are you? Your Highness. Before he snaps his attention to something off-panel, shouting, Captain. Over here. Emperor Ragnar, now composed, surveys the grand, unfamiliar hall, his thoughts turning to the implications of their sudden arrival. How would something like this be in this place? Barely a moment after their shocking teleportation, he's already checking on his captain, demanding to know if he's okay. With a calm assurance that he's perfectly fine, the Emperor swiftly turns the tables, questioning the captain's own condition. But even as they speak, a cascade of emergency communication magic circles ignite across the land, the Emperor having already sent a critical alert to the Royal Palace Guard. The urgent message, a beacon of distress, screams directly to the heart of the royal palace. A fortress guarded by an ancient, unbreakable magic circle, a legacy forged through countless generations and the darkest of eras. This single, formidable defense makes the royal palace absolutely impenetrable. And the sheer activation of that legendary magic circle means every warrior, every mage, is now converging on its hallowed grounds. Amidst the chaos, the Emperor spots Ian, intensely focused on something unseen, and demands to know what he's seeking. His voice sharp, he repeats the question, his eyes locked onto Ian's determined form. Then, with a surge of raw power, Ian thrusts his hand forward, conjuring a brilliant, shimmering mana barrier into existence. The formidable mana barrier erupts, a protective dome now shielding them, a testament to Ian's swift and decisive action. He explains the intricate process of injecting mana into a person, a complex magical feat. And his mother, surprised by his advanced knowledge, asks if he's truly mastered such a technique, to which he confidently replies that he's learned quite a bit, prompting her to question if he can actually maintain it. As a soft glow emanates from his hand, indicating the successful manipulation of energy, he demonstrates his control. His mother, still processing the implications of his power, then states, she has something important to tell him. Without hesitation, he agrees, ready to listen. His mother then reveals that she's been assigned to the second palace, a development that leaves him visibly surprised. Meanwhile, a dark narrative unfolds, detailing the tragic fate of Cecilia, a woman whose life was shattered by a single, devastating incident, leaving her to endure unimaginable suffering. The narration continues, emphasizing that her suffering was not a matter of choice, but a cruel twist of fate, and that she needed to survive, no matter the cost. A solemn expression crosses Green River's face, his gaze distant and contemplative. The scene shifts to a formidable, ancient prison, its stone walls looming ominously, a place where hope struggles to survive. The heavy, echoing footsteps of a guard resound through the desolate corridors, underscoring the oppressive atmosphere. Inside a cell, RWA addresses Cecilia, noting it's been a long time and expressing surprise that she's still alive, his words carrying a chilling undertone. Imprisoned and vulnerable, Cecilia looks up, her voice barely a whisper as she questions the identity of her unexpected visitor. Standing outside her cell, a cloaked figure reveals himself. It's Daniel, a familiar face in her time of need. A wave of desperate hope washes over her, as she cries out his name, pleading for immediate release. Without hesitation, Daniel offers his unwavering support, a simple, of course, echoing his resolve. But a deeper concern grips Cecilia, her gaze falling as she warns him of RWA's ominous knowledge, a secret that could jeopardize everything. This knowledge, she realizes, stems from the very essence of Coldwalker, and the people within it. Daniel's expression turns serious, his brow furrowing as he processes the gravity of her words. Clutching the cold bars, Cecilia emphasizes the chilling truth. RWA possesses information about a mana seal, a secret that should have been unknown to both of them. Yet, this particular detail, the true nature of the mana seal, is something RWA still doesn't fully comprehend. Daniel, recognizing the urgency, cuts to the chase, insisting they have no time for further discussion and must leave immediately. He pauses, a flicker of thought crossing his face, still pondering the implications of her revelation. With a soft creak, the cell door swings open, revealing an empty space as Cecilia's imprisonment comes to an end. Despite her recent ordeal, Cecilia pushes through the pain, a fresh cut marring her cheek as she lets out a defiant scoff. But her moment of defiance is shattered as a blade flashes, striking her with brutal force, sending blood spraying into the air. The impact sends her reeling, the assailant's blade dripping crimson as she collapses, a sharp tsk escaping her lips. She hits the ground hard, a guttural cry of pain torn from her throat, her hand reaching out desperately into the void. Regaining her composure, she recalls the words of her ally, the one who spoke of the Emperor's precarious position, how he wasn't exactly making friends with his recent treaties. Blood still stains her mouth, a stark reminder of the brutal reality, but her gaze hardens with renewed resolve. As she turns to leave, a trail of blood marking her path, she wonders if her ally will truly succeed in their grand plan. With a final, lingering glance back, she bids a silent farewell, her words echoing with a sense of finality. Her eyes, now burning with fierce determination, reflect her unwavering resolve to see their shared objective through. Suddenly, a cloaked figure, moving with impossible speed, lunges forward, their sword arcing with deadly intent towards an unsuspecting target. The blade connects with brutal force, tearing through flesh and bone, as a torrent of blood erupts from the impact point. The blonde woman, caught completely off guard, recoils in shock and agony, her eyes wide with disbelief as she demands to know the identity of her attacker. Ian Page stands resolute, his gaze sharp and his posture unyielding. A small, glowing blue crystal materializes in his hand, as a chilling resolve echoes in his mind, I'm going to kill you with my own hands. With each step, he leaves a shimmering trail of ice in his wake, the air crackling with his potent magic. His thoughts drift to a past encounter, a conversation with Emperor Ragnar, where he'd once declared, Ragnar, I'm so fortunate that I got to meet you today. Yet, the underlying truth of his heart remained, I wanted to kill you with my own hands. He recalls Ragnar's desperate plea, W8. Wouldn't it be better for you to keep me alive? To which Ian had retorted, how can I not work with someone who never played by the rules? A grim realization then settled in, there's still 10 years left until that happens. Returning to the present, the mage continues his solitary walk, the magical ice crunching softly beneath his feet. His determination hardens as he recalls a solemn vow, I promised myself that when I returned, he thinks. The glowing crystal in his hand pulses with power, a silent testament to his unwavering goal, I would put everything back. And with a final, decisive crunch of ice, he continues his journey, his path illuminated by his own formidable will. He remembers a moment of raw power, his eyes blazing with an icy blue light, a trickle of blood escaping his lips as he utters a name or a spell, Hus. Ikiro. Now, in the present, his appearance subtly altered, he carefully carries a young boy through a desolate stone corridor, his footsteps echoing softly in the silence. His gaze sharpens as his hand reaches for a glowing blue symbol etched onto the boy's neck, a mana seal he instantly identifies, its implications dawning on him. He stares down at the unconscious boy, a low murmur of concern rising from the figures around him, the gravity of the situation settling in. The commotion intensifies as he stands with two cloaked companions, all eyes fixed on the mysterious youth. A deep frown creases Ian Page's brow, his mind racing as he questions the strange discovery, Ian Page, what is this? Kneeling beside the boy, he examines the peculiar phenomenon with growing urgency, what in the world is it? The boy remains still on the cold stone, enveloped in a faint, ethereal blue glow emanating from the mysterious seal. Within the opulent halls of the palace, a distinguished noble questions the ongoing situation, wondering if there are any issues within the royal residence. He presses further, demanding to know what exactly is happening with the royal scribe and what kind of trouble he's stirring up. His voice sharp with authority, he insists that his master provide an answer to his question. As other nobles gather, the emperor's voice cuts through the tension, asking if they truly believe the royal scribe could have acted without his knowledge, or if they think he's unaware of the palace's true state. His golden eyes gleaming, Emperor Ragnar declares that he cannot trust the royal scribe any longer. With a stern gaze, he issues a direct command. From this moment forward, the tower master and all related authorities are to investigate the royal scribe, and he demands to know if his orders are understood. Bowing deeply, the noble roi responds with unwavering loyalty, affirming that he will obey the emperor's command. From his majestic throne, Ragnar dismisses him, granting him leave from the royal presence. As he turns to depart, Roi makes a silent vow, promising his master that he will not disappoint him. His footsteps echoing through the grand hall, the noble makes his exit. Alone once more, a subtle smirk plays on Emperor Ragnar's lips as he muses, acknowledging that he will meet someone again. Ian Page reflects on the ongoing tension, acknowledging the emperor and the royal scribe are locked in a serious dispute. Meanwhile, the emperor, his voice resonating with authority, begins to speak, declaring that thanks to Ian's exceptional competency, they were able to prosper for the very first time. Ian, however, remains focused on the core issue, musing that it doesn't matter if someone is a high-ranked or low-ranked magician, the crucial element is always the information they possess. He stands before the emperor, who continues to address him, reiterating that the emperor and the royal scribe are indeed having issues, a fact that seems to weigh heavily on the ruler. As such, the emperor declares, he would like to personally show his appreciation to Ian, and the reward he'd like to give him is substantial. Standing beside Green River, who holds a scroll, Ian listens as the emperor praises his sheer competency. The intricate details of Ian's noble attire shimmer, reflecting the grandeur of the imperial court, as the conversation continues. Green River then speaks, reminding them of Ian's ancestor, the sole magician of the imperial family, a legacy that now binds Ian to the imperial line. With a slight smile, the emperor delivers the crushing blow, explaining that due to his ancestor's testament, he cannot reward someone who is not a part of the imperial family. Ian's expression shifts to one of thoughtful resignation, realizing he should have known it wouldn't be that easy to receive an emperor's reward, or perhaps, the emperor simply didn't want to give him anything at all. Before the current era, there was a legend, a name whispered with reverence and awe, Mitchell Green River, a figure whose very existence bridged the past and the future of magic. He was once hailed as the greatest magician in the imperial capital, his power and skill unmatched. His magical consistency was legendary, a force so profound that even in a past life, such an item would have been an impossible find. Now, a young woman with flowing blonde hair presents a magnificent garment, asking if he would like to try it on right now. The intricate fabric, woven with arcane symbols, shimmers with latent power. As Mitchell Green River watches with a knowing smile, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. The robe's hem brushes the ground, its rich blue fabric hinting at its grandeur. And he remarks with amusement that it's quite big on him now, but will eventually fit his body. Ian Page's electric blue eyes widen slightly as he takes in a garment, a robe intricately embroidered with magical spells. With a determined glint in his gaze, he declares, he will make it fit his body right now. A soft hum of energy begins to emanate from him, a subtle shimmer of magic gathering around his form. Then, with a powerful surge, a brilliant blue aura erupts from his body, enveloping him in a dazzling display of raw magical force. He stands amidst shimmering blue particles, his gaze fixed on his hands, a testament to the raw power he just unleashed. While nearby, 3 men gasp in utter astonishment, one barely managing to exclaim, "How did he do that?" From his grand, imposing throne, the emperor watches, a stern, unyielding expression on his face, his eyes betraying a flicker of something more. As a subtle, knowing smile plays across the young magician's lips, a silent acknowledgement of his own formidable power. The king's favor, it seems, is not merely given, but earned through sheer, undeniable might. A faint, ethereal blue aura now surrounds the emperor on his throne, a silent acknowledgement of the power he has just witnessed. Under a vast, open sky, the sprawling, majestic palace stands as a monument to power and prestige. Later, as he strolls through the serene palace gardens, a noble woman approaches, her voice a polite inquiry, "Excuse me, Sir Ian." He politely, yet firmly, declines her overtures, his words a clear dismissal, "I respectfully decline your kindness. Please don't concern yourself with me." But she persists, her determination evident as she reaches out to grasp his foot, refusing to let him leave. Her expression urgent, almost desperate, she tries to convey, "I actually wanted to tell you something, about." He recalls a past moment, a lingering regret that he was too preoccupied to properly thank His Highness, hoping for forgiveness. Snapping back to the present, he quickly dismisses the noblewoman's urgent message, insisting that whatever she was about to say simply wouldn't come to pass. Meanwhile, the noblewoman, Margaret, beams with an almost unsettling cheerfulness, giving a confident thumbs up. Her bright smile remains fixed, a stark contrast to the gravity of her earlier attempt to convey a message. With a soft thud of his boots, he turns and walks away from the encounter. A voice echoes, acknowledging a truly monumental feat, a great accomplishment that resonates through the palace halls. As he walks away, a subtle glance over his shoulder hints at his awareness of the ongoing praise, his expression unreadable. The emperor himself, with a regal bearing, addresses him directly, commending the achievements he has made. His imperial majesty continues, acknowledging that it was thanks to Ian's efforts that the safety of the imperial family was secured and maintained. In a gesture of profound respect, Ian bows deeply before the emperor, accepting the high praise. The emperor's voice rings with authority, declaring that Ian Page's achievements during the recent incident were truly unmatched, a testament to his extraordinary power. Just as the emperor finishes, a new, blonde-haired noble steps forward with a soft thud, offering a polite apology for his late introduction, hinting that his reputation might precede him. With a formal bow, he introduces himself, stating, "But I would formally introduce myself to you." Meanwhile, the emperor, clad in his regal military uniform, offers a respectful bow, his expression one of deep consideration. A wine glass tumbles, spilling its crimson contents, as he muses, "My old friend." Ian stands by a crackling fireplace, his back to the viewer, lost in thought. A delicate teacup clinks, the sound echoing the quiet tension in the room. The emperor's ornate uniform gleams, a symbol of his authority and the weight of his gratitude. He offers a warm, appreciative smile, his gaze fixed on the young mage. Later, Margaret appears slightly taken aback, her blue eyes wide with a hint of surprise. The emperor, still in his formal attire, continues his address, acknowledging, "Although it's late." Margaret's expression turns thoughtful, as she considers the implications of his words, thinking, "It's way too early for me to be inviting him." With a gesture of sincere appreciation, the emperor declares, "In appreciation towards you, for protecting the safety of the empire and the imperial family in the Muslim territory. And I would like to invite you to the lunchbox today to show my thanks." Turning to Margaret, he extends the invitation, asking, "Would you be able to join me for lunch?" As the emperor considers his next move, a gentle hand takes hold, a voice interjecting with a polite but firm refusal. Lady Margaret, with a subtle smile, informs him that Ian already has lunch plans with her today, leaving the young mage looking utterly surprised by her sudden declaration. The emperor, ever composed, simply asks if tomorrow would work instead, attempting to reschedule the coveted invitation. But Ian, his expression troubled, offers a deep apology, explaining that even tomorrow would be impossible. A subtle glow emanates from his eye as Margaret's grip on his hand tightens, a silent pressure accompanying his refusal. Margaret acknowledges his words with a knowing, "I see," though she can't help but express her disappointment at the missed opportunity. The emperor watches the pair, his back to the viewer, as Margaret continues to lament the unfortunate circumstances, her hands still firmly clasped around Ian's. Ian reiterates his need to decline for the time being, while the emperor, with a gracious nod, expresses his pleasure at having met the young sir. With the formal pleasantries concluded, Margaret leads Ian away from the emperor, who stands watching their departure, a thoughtful expression on his face. Their footsteps echo softly as they continue to walk away, leaving the emperor behind. Margaret then turns back to Ian, a determined glint in her eye, addressing him directly. With a slight, awkward smile, she apologizes for speaking without thinking things through, her expression softening as she faces the still uncomfortable mage. As Margaret stands beside him, a single name echoes in Ian's mind, a name that carries the weight of a looming confrontation, Ragnar. He remembers a time when the emperor was a mentor, a friend, a guide, but now, that image is shattered, replaced by a formidable opponent. With fierce determination etched across his face, Ian vows to halt Ragnar's relentless expansion, a silent promise to prevent his influence from spreading any further. The symbolic chains of power bind them both, but Ian's will is unbreakable, he will ensure Ragnar cannot take another step forward. His gaze hardens, the weight of his decision settling upon him. The very fabric of his being is now aligned with this singular purpose, every fiber of his resolve dedicated to the coming conflict. This isn't just a political maneuver or a clash of ideals, this is a destiny he embraces, he will be Ragnar's opponent in this life. 5 years flash by in an instant, the grand palace standing as a testament to the passage of time. Leading into the opulent halls of its sprawling library, a sanctuary of knowledge. Within its towering shelves, a younger Ian Page pores over a dense tome, a sigh escaping him as he admits, he has no clue what he's even reading. His frustration mounts, wondering aloud, why can't these authors just write in a way everyone can understand? His tutor, Aaron, approaches, explaining that the book, penned by the first emperor himself, details the intricate art of good governance and the methods of ruling, subjects that even the first prince and he himself have yet to fully master. Ian looks around, utterly swamped by towering stacks of books, a daunting realization dawning on him as he murmurs, all these books, huh? The sheer volume of required knowledge, encompassing economics, politics, and social affairs, weighs heavily on him, making him wonder, are all these books truly necessary to read? Overwhelmed and utterly exhausted, he throws his head back in exasperation, declaring, "Ugh, I don't care anymore." Aaron, ever the patient mentor, gently reminds him, "Today isn't the day, teacher." "Your Highness." Leaving the palace library behind, Ian Page and his tutor, Aaron, make their way through the opulent corridors, the young noble's thoughts already drifting from his studies as Aaron reminds him, "Let's go, Master. Today is the last day of the month, and Master starts right." Aaron considers the implications, his expression thoughtful as he processes the upcoming event. Meanwhile, Ian's mind is already elsewhere, a hint of anticipation in his eyes as he muses, "They should be doing it right now." As they continue their walk, Ian's gaze is fixed on something beyond the frame, a quiet longing in his voice as he admits, "I haven't watched them in a while." Their footsteps echo softly, carrying them further into the palace grounds. Soon, they arrive at their destination, the grand entrance to the Second Royal Knight's headquarters, the main training grounds. The imposing fortress stands tall, its battlements reaching towards the sky, a testament to the Empire's might. A sigh of relief escapes Ian, his expression softening as he takes in the scene, a quiet determination forming within him, "Phew. Till the end." His attention is drawn to a knight in training, a young man with dark brown hair, his body coiled with intense focus as he practices a powerful sword strike, the blade glinting under the sun. The knight's grip on his sword tightens, his resolve palpable as he mutters, "I swear." Watching the intense training, Ian's golden eyes narrow, a sharp, calculating glint reflecting the knight's dedication, a silent promise in his gaze. As the knight's blade slices through the air, a sudden, powerful force erupts, shattering the very ground beneath him and sending a shockwave of ice shards flying. The training ground transforms into a chaotic storm of shimmering ice, each fragment a testament to the raw power unleashed. Amidst the swirling tempest, the knight, caught off guard, struggles to maintain his footing, his body recoiling from the unexpected impact as the ground continues to fracture around him. With a guttural cry of effort, he plants his foot firmly, attempting to brace against the unseen force that threatens to overwhelm him. The air around him crackles with residual energy, as countless razor-sharp ice shards continue to rain down, each one a potential deadly projectile. Spinning with desperate agility, the knight deflects the onslaught with his blade, a whirlwind of defensive maneuvers against the relentless icy assault. His boots dig deep into the fractured earth, the sheer force of the impact threatening to tear him from his stance. The ground itself groans under the strain, splintering further into a chaotic mosaic of cracks, each fissure a testament to the immense power at play. Despite the relentless assault, the knight remains resolute, his grip firm on his sword, a silent vow to endure etched onto his determined features. With a powerful swing, he unleashes a counterattack, his blade cutting through the air with precision, aiming to dispel the magical barrage. The impact of his strike reverberates through the ground, a testament to his unwavering resolve against the overwhelming magical force. His blade connects with an unseen barrier, sending a shockwave of energy outward, a desperate attempt to break through the magical defense. As the dust begins to settle, the knight stands firm, his posture unwavering, a silent sentinel amidst the remnants of the magical storm, ready for whatever comes next. A blade flashes, cutting through the air with impossible speed, leaving a trail of shimmering light in its wake. The sound of a swift, decisive movement echoes, as if reality itself is being torn apart, a blur of motion indicating a warrior's lightning-fast strike. Then, the knight emerges from the haze, his dark attire a stark contrast to the dynamic energy surrounding him, his sword already drawn and poised for the next devastating blow. His gaze is sharp, unwavering, a silent promise of the power he wields, his focus absolute as he anticipates the coming threat. Suddenly, a voice rings out, declaring the next phase of the assault, and the knight is thrown back by an unseen force, a powerful impact reverberating through the ground. A colossal explosion of vibrant, orange flames erupts, consuming everything in its path, its raw power threatening to overwhelm the very landscape. Yet, amidst the inferno, the knight stands defiant, a primal roar escaping his lips as he faces the overwhelming heat, his silhouette framed by the raging fire. His eyes, wide with a mixture of shock and fierce resolve, reflect the terrifying brilliance of the magical assault. With a swift, practiced motion, he raises his sword, the blade humming with latent energy, ready to meet the fiery onslaught head-on. He swings, and the sword carves a brilliant arc through the inferno, deflecting the raging flames with a thunderous impact, a testament to his unyielding skill. Despite the overwhelming power he faces, his resolve hardens, a quiet declaration echoing in his mind, he knows he can reach his target. His gaze narrows, piercing through the chaos, as he prepares for the final, decisive move, knowing that victory lies at the very end of this brutal exchange. The unnamed knight unleashes a devastating fire attack, engulfing the mage in a maelstrom of orange flames and crackling energy, a direct challenge to his magical prowess. But before the knight can press his advantage, an unseen force slams into him, sending him reeling backward with a sharp cry of surprise. Shaking off the impact, the knight retaliates instantly, his sword a blur as he closes the distance, striking the mage with blinding speed. The blade connects with brutal force, a spray of blood erupting as the mage takes the full impact of the relentless assault. The mage is sent tumbling through the air, his form a fleeting streak against the hazy backdrop of the arena. Finally, he collapses to the ground, the knight standing victorious over his fallen opponent, sword still drawn. A moment of silence hangs in the air, dust motes dancing in the lingering magical light as the battle's intensity fades. The knight's eyes, sharp and unwavering, scan the scene, assessing the outcome of his decisive strike. Then, a hand reaches out from the dust, and the mage's voice cuts through the quiet, a surprising declaration of, "Well done." As if reborn, Ian Page rises from the ground, his form now enveloped in a brilliant, shimmering blue aura, glowing particles swirling around him. The knight watches him, his expression unreadable, as the mage stands fully recovered, his power radiating outwards. Ian Page then speaks again, his words hanging in the air, hinting at the true purpose behind their intense confrontation. The unnamed knight reflects on the recent intense combat, a scoff escaping him as he considers the minimal impact he managed to make. Muttering to himself that he wasn't even able to make a scratch. He looks down, a thoughtful expression on his face. Across from him, Ian Page stands, cloaked in a striking blue, her blonde hair flowing around her. Ian's voice cuts through his thoughts, reminding him that he had aimed for the heart, and if she had truly been hurt, she would have died for sure. A calm, almost serene expression graces Ian's features as she speaks. The knight extends his hand, offering a necklace as a token of his appreciation, thanking Ian for all the help received over the years. His gaze earnest, he insists that the value of the help he's received far exceeds any material compensation. He maintains a respectful and humble demeanor. Ian, observing him, remarks on how much he has grown in the past year, and expresses relief that he is physically unharmed. Then, the knight addresses Ian directly, asking if he could pose just one question. Ian readily agrees, her expression unwavering. The knight's gaze intensifies as he finally asks, just how strong Ian truly is right now. Ian Page, the Empire's greatest magician, finds himself at the precipice of a new challenge, reflecting on his current standing as a fifth-class master. Even in his past life, he'd only reached this level around 20 years old, a relatively swift ascent, but his true ambition had always been to achieve at least sixth-class mastery. Now, facing his current limitations, he wonders if fifth-class master is truly his ultimate ceiling. With a fierce clench of his fists, he resolves to push his physical limits, hoping his body can keep up with his soaring ambition. Indeed, his reputation as the Empire's greatest magician precedes him, a fact acknowledged by the unnamed knight standing before him. The knight respectfully addresses him as, "Your Highness," a testament to his noble standing. A blonde noble approaches, remarking on the conclusion of their sparring match, a final test of skill between the two formidable individuals. He then invites them to breakfast, a casual gesture that belies the true power of the Emperor, whose strength is at least 8th class, a master of combat who could easily grant an opponent a chance to escape with just his left hand. The knight apologizes for his performance, yet the undeniable truth remains, Ian Page is the greatest magician, a fact that fuels the knight's determination to swiftly ascend to 7th-class master himself. Hearing this ambitious declaration, the blonde noble sighs, accepting the knight's unwavering resolve as inevitable. With a final invitation to eat together next time, Ian agrees to join them if his schedule permits, his thoughts already drifting to his next challenge. With that, Ian turns and walks away, his mind already set on the path to greater power. As he takes his leave, a powerful magical aura erupts from Ian Page, propelling him skyward with an explosive burst of energy. Leaving the grand castle behind as he ascends into the clear blue sky, a lone figure against the vast expanse. He pauses mid-air, a silent promise hanging in the air as he declares, "I'll be back." His golden eyes gleam with an unspoken resolve, his expression a mix of determination and quiet confidence, a testament to the power he now wields. With another surge of energy, he vanishes into the distance, leaving behind only shimmering trails of magic, a fleeting glimpse of his extraordinary abilities. Back at the castle, the unnamed blonde noble and the unnamed knight stand together, their gazes fixed on the spot where Ian disappeared, a silent acknowledgement of the profound power they just witnessed. The blonde noble muses aloud, recalling the spellbook Ian possessed, a tome that granted him the power of flight, a feat he'd never seen from any other mage, concluding that Ian Page was undeniably an extraordinary magician. Meanwhile, the knight turns to his companion, his expression earnest, requesting, "Grand Master, please tell me your orders." He continues, reflecting on Ian's uncanny perception, how his eyes seemed to see right through him with ease, a realization that solidified his belief that Ian was no ordinary mage, leaving him speechless and without an adequate response. Far above, Ian Page continues his journey, a vast, intricate magical symbol glowing behind him as he internally declares his unwavering resolve. He cannot be defeated by anyone, for the gap between them is simply too wide to overcome. Back on the ground, the blonde noble, still processing Ian's power, adds a crucial caveat to his assessment: this overwhelming strength was particularly true when facing other magicians. A subtle smirk plays on Ian Page's lips as he continues his flight, his confidence radiating, fully aware of the immense power he now commands. Still reeling from the display of power, the knight's mind races, grappling with the sheer magnitude of what he just witnessed, a power he could only describe as manageable. His expression remains thoughtful, a silent testament to the profound impact Ian's abilities had left upon him.